Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? I am Mike. I am here with Randy. Randy, how are you? Just so you know, too, we're doing our normal show. You're probably listening to this on Apple or Spotify, but this week, starting new, we have got video. We're on YouTube. You can see us doing this right now. You can look at it. We're looking at each other, and you can look at us. It's amazing.
Well done, Mike. This is the brainchild of Mike's technological prowess, which I'm very impressed by.
It really is the best example of the differences of us as people, though, because the day has been you scrambling and dealing with your family and us looking for time to record. Well, I spent literally 6 hours today building layouts and editing videos. And I was like, you ready? Because I can go anytime. And you're like, I'm drowning. I was like, yeah, but can we go? We all right? You ready to go? I'm ready to do the thing.
But here we are.
And why are you drowning? Because it's the holiday season.
Right.
And we are going to do Christmassy content all month. We today are going to tier list our Christmas Carol adaptations. Not everything, because there's been hundreds, possibly thousands of them. But maybe
That's
25.
on thousands.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Maybe 25 of them over the years. We'll get into it. And the tier list format is my little caveat to YouTube, because it'll work great as a discussion that we would have anyway for the pod, right?
Absolutely.
But now, if you come to YouTube, you're going to get a nice little thing to follow along with, some visual bits. My goodness, and everybody wins. You know what I'm saying?
It's I would guess so, yes.
Also, I'm already hating if guys do go to YouTube and look, is the way I have it set up is technical bullshit reasons. Randy is over to my right, so I keep wanting to look at him, but then I realize the camera is facing my left profile.
Oh yeah,
and I'm
so I gotta do that.
I'm fucking this up. I have to have you there for technical reasons. And I want to look at you, but I can't look into the camera to do the show and then also see you. You are gone to me if we do it this way. So really,
we have to do this, Mike? Is that what we have to do?
What I'm saying is the audio is clearly a superior format. We fucked up. This is a waste of time. You're saying this. What is that? Our friends listening on Apple and Spotify or elsewhere, they don't know what you're doing. He whipped his dick out, is what it was.
Oh my God.
He asked, do you mean like this? And you may have thought, oh, is he turning his head? No, he whipped his dick out at me. And these are the things you can only see on YouTube. So, although act fast, because they will take us down.
Yes, I was going to say, this is not really what we meant by YouTube exclusive content, but...
With that, even though we've already been going, it is time for our theme song of the week. We've only got a few left. We've got our AI-generated themes that we've been playing every week. So I've got one on deck. And get ready. You ready? You ready for the theme?
Oh, let's do it. Yes.
Listen, because it's our big debut on video, I got one of the biggest stars on the planet come in and do a song for us. I hope you're ready. You can hear it, right? Good. We worked it out. Excited for us.
I was wondering if Taylor Swift was going to be one of these.
What are you talking about? This could be anybody. This could be anybody. I don't know what you mean. Why would you say it's Taylor Swift?
Are these guys friends?
Why would you say that?
Oh.
I don't know.
No, she's pointing at me to those looking at YouTube.
Pop culture interests and if they're actually friends or not. One friend is named Mike, one is named Randy. Wait, are these guys friends?
I'm a little chilly, Mike. I need to go put on a cardigan.
Yeah, no, and listen, I truly think that was one of those I want to say it was Lover era maybe, because it was a little poppier, a little more fun. It wasn't like your Reputation 1989 stuff where he was becoming a deeper pop artist or maybe diving into hip hop. She was feeling feelings about us as podcasters but was happy about it. It's not, ever more folklore. Her era here was being happy to sing about us. So what a great way to start this era for us.
I could feel that she poured the emotion of being excited by listening to our nonsense.
Yeah, it's just...
And she was releasing her joy. God bless you, Taylor.
It's a good way to live, But with that, we'll transition to what we always do. What'd you watch this week, man? What'd you enjoy?
So I had taken a little bit of time off from watching Abbott Elementary, which I was a big fan of when it first came out, and had been checking it out on Hulu. You know, I guess it's ABC, but I've been watching it on Hulu, and it dug back into this season, which they're pretty far into the fourth season, just to start watching again, and it picks right up just as easily as it had been before. You know, I started watching probably 5, 6 episodes in a row. Just really, really easy to watch. Super fun.
I've heard nothing but good things. Is that the show that is also in Philly? Have they done the crossover with Always Sunny, or is that coming?
No, that's coming. I had read about that. I'm actually fascinated to see how, other than the fact that both are set in Philadelphia, the two shows have nothing to do with each other. So
It's like temperament-wise too, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, like Abbott Elementary up here has quite a good deal of heart, right?
it has a very Parks and Rec vibe. I think you'd get a kick out of it to check it out, because it does a lot of it's that mockumentary style, but it does a lot of, you know, taking place in elementary school. So I know you're not always the biggest fan of kids and media type stuff, but the
I don't
kids
know either.
are a little more ancillary than they are the main characters. It's all about the teachers and what the teachers have to endure and those type
Okay.
of things.
That's cool. I'm excited for that. I do love that type of show mentality, temperament. I was looking up just now because you reminded me, because he had obviously been on staff member in Parks and Rec and did some other things. Did you hear about Michael Schur's new show that's coming to Netflix with Ted Danson?
I did. Yeah. He was on, I think, not 60 Minutes, Sunday Morning. He did one of those long form interviews with one of their journalists, and it was
Schur or Ted Danson?
Ted Danson.
Oh,
So, and that's where I had heard about it and said, oh, well, this is, and they showed part of an interview where Schur sat down with Ted Danson and a person, and it looks really interesting. Remind me the concept, though. I'm blanking on the concept.
I believe I looked it up. I just double checked. Yeah, he's a private investigator
Right.
at a retirement community, which
So,
sounds interesting. Although, did you?
based on a real story, actually. So based on this, actually happened in I'm blanking on the country, but in another country other than the U.S.
Is there one? America.
Hmm.
Ignore Dr. Who stuff.
Exactly. So
I only recognize the Eighth Doctor, who's I think half human, and it was the U.S. adaptation. This is only an Eighth Doctor hoodie. America.
got it.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't have much, so it's. But yeah, that looked really interesting. I'm curious to see how it turns out, because everything Shore's really ever done, I've been a big fan of.
I was actually going to follow up on that. I feel like there's a forgotten show there, though, because post Good Place, he did a show with Ted Danson already, and it got canceled halfway
That
through
was
the first
Mr. Mayor.
season.
That was it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And that it also had I forget the name, but the girl from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend that played the neighbor that got pregnant on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and it had, like, the whole cast was absolutely fantastic.
Huh.
And then I watched the pilot, and the pilot was honestly kind of bad. I didn't think, by the way, I just looked this up. It got Vella Lavelle was the name of who I was saying.
Okay.
Bobby Moynihan was on it after he left SNL, but I think after he was on that weird John Larroquette sitcom. Do you remember that one?
Yes. It was just
Anyway.
it was his name, right? It was just the John Larroquette show.
No, not the
Oh.
John Larroquette show. That was in the 90s. Hang on. We got a whole tangent. But my point being is, I didn't realize it had 2 seasons, but Mr. Mayor was kind of a bomb and not all that great. It only had 20 episodes across 2 seasons. And I am worried about them diving back into another, I was wrong. I was wrong. This Mr. Mayor was not a Sure show. That was a Tina Fey show. That was a 30 Rock pedigree show.
Oh, okay.
That was Robert Carlock and Tina Fey. I, for some reason, was convinced this entire time it was a Michael Schur show. I have no idea why. Now I feel like a real sack of crap. So, but that gives me more.
Don't
hope
put
for
the
this.
stink of Mr. Mayor on Michael Schur.
I did. I fucking did. Oh, that makes me so much happier, though, because that gives me a real shot at this being awesome.
Yeah.
What has Michael Schur done since The Good Place? Has he done a show then?
I don't.
Or is this
think
the follow-up?
As also, I mean, if you want to, it depends on how you feel about. What was the Aziz Ansari one? Did he do Master of None? Was he involved with that?
Oh,
which was
So-
interesting, but a touch ahead of its time and sometimes not super funny. I don't know if that was what they were going for, but
I think that was a little bit what they're going for, but I also, as silly as it sounds, despite it being ahead of its time, and I agree with that, I think I was too old and too uncool to enjoy it when it came out because it was all about, hipper young person dating in the city and love life and blah, blah. I was like, I don't know, I don't identify with any of this. I want to sit at home with my fucking cat and not do like everything you're doing. I don't want to be a part of. I can't
Fair.
identify with any of this. It does not say
he was an executive producer on it, so he
Okay.
was one of those, where he was probably him and 6 other people were the executive producers. So similar. He's an executive producer on Hacks too, which is really which I've talked about before, which
Yeah,
I really
okay.
like. Yeah, I'm looking through just his quote unquote filmography, but to see which things. I mean, I don't know what is Rutherford Falls. Do you know what that is?
That sounds so fucking familiar.
Is that
While you're looking that up, I was going to
is that
tell
like
you
a summer camp one? I think, or
fucking no.
yeah.
I don't know. I was going to say, did you remember what the name of that weird John Larroquette, Bobby Moynihan show was? Because I'm grabbing that right now.
No.
Did you watch? Do you even? So you don't know what I'm talking about. It had a very unique concept. It was me, myself, and I, and it was Bobby Moynihan, a kid. I don't remember if they were ever important, and John Larroquette, and it was the same person across 3 eras of their life, telling different stories in each episode about that person across eras. Bobby Moynihan was like middle aged. John Larroquette was old. There was a little kid one, and the problem is I don't remember it being funny. It was a sitcom. I don't remember, like I watched 1 or 2 episodes and I thought, I don't think I care for this. And I believe the rest of the world felt the same. It got 13 episodes.
It is tricky when things are high concept and have to work their way through that sometimes, that even if they have amusing ways to work through it, it doesn't always, it falls flat.
Honestly, you're right too, because you go back to really The Good Place again with Michael Schur. What a high concept show, but they came out with such confidence and such they knew what they were doing. Did they still have to evolve, find a bit of a voice? Did they find a rhythm? Sure, all shows do. But they really had more of that leg up right away, that they were just fucking off and running, What else have you gotten up to this week? What have you watched?
So while we were doing some of the aforementioned things around the house to get ready for family this week, I know we're talking Christmas stuff, but we're taping this leading into Thanksgiving week.
Oh my God,
festivities.
the fourth wall's collapse. The fourth wall is
No one must know.
God must know.
Oh, that will never not be funny to me. So go back and check out our Instagram or other things. Or just go check out. I don't even remember when that was. It was one of the X-Men recaps, but go listen to all of our podcasts to find that.
Can I tell you, I don't remember what you're talking about. I thought we were quoting The Simpsons.
No, the no one must know was when you, yes, but also you were talking about a Nightcrawler farting, and you said,
I mean, I remember that, but I just thought I was doing fucking Reindeer Wolfcastle from The Simpsons when no, I wasn't even doing that. I was doing Arnold on The Critic, which was the same impression.
Right.
When he takes off the muscle suit in Silhouette and he's just a skinny little twerp, and he goes, "No one must know." This has been a journey.
Oh, we've gone completely aside. So
Anyway, what did you watch?
yes, worthwhile crumbling down. We were taking care of some things around a couple of the rooms, like hanging up drapes, doing all sorts of fun domestic things around the house, and TBS has already started with their however many days of Christmas, and so both National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Elf were on back to back, and while we were doing other stuff, we had that on in the background, which candidly is kind of the perfect way to watch those movies. I know we'll get into some of our breakdowns or talking about we've talked about Christmas Vacation a decent amount in the past, but it is really great to watch. I like it more than you, I know, but it is really, really fun to watch kind of in the background, because it is just a sequence of silly bits that lend like one to another. There is kind of a plot, but not really. It's just a bunch of set pieces over and over and over.
There's also just something to be said too about the point where you've seen a movie so many times. Sitting down to truly watch it, is more of a special occasion thing.
Sure.
And you hit such a point of just oversaturation with some of these films where you don't need to ever necessarily sit down and watch it. That special occasion won't come. It'll just always be on, and you'll always pick up 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It'll, in perpetuity, just always be a background movie forever and ever and ever.
I think one of the delights, and I mean, I'm a big fan of, it's just, I've always been sort of a mimic and someone who likes to memorize things and things like that. So I'm a big fan of, lines back on movies and really hitting the beats and understanding the beats of when things hit. And I did catch myself probably 8 to 10 times while that was going on, stopping and then looking at the screen because I knew something was coming. And I would say 5 of them were Cousin Eddie, because I think that's just brilliantly done by Randy Quaid. Really, really funny stuff. But for me, I mean, not for everybody, I get it. But just I can't pick one off the top of my head. Maybe you Sirius Clark or something like that. She's a real beaut, Clark. Thanks, Eddie. Like when the lights get plugged in. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff in there that I was delighted that I still found really, really funny, that I would stop to check out the screen to watch it, even though I'd seen that movie 20 plus times.
Makes sense. We all have it. Even we did, for those of you who are curious, and I believe you can find this audio only even on the YouTube. Go back to the archives. We've done our Chevy Chase, Bill Murray battles, where we talked quite a bit about my thoughts on Christmas Vacation and the vacation movies, Randy's thoughts. Like, I'm not enamored with the movie. I get why people love it. It's not one of those things where I sit here and go, I don't get it. I get it. It's just not for me.
Sure.
But it's fun imagining you actually in like full dad mode. And dad mode is you stand and watch 15 minutes of the movie without ever sitting down because you're doing something and you just stand behind the couch and you look at the TV.
This is the fourth wall breaking. That's exactly what was happening.
It's dad mode. It's what I have asked this. We've done like 37 episodes, and I've probably asked this in at least 10 or 12 of them. How old is your kid again? I forget.
He's 12.
12. So I would say at least 10 years ago, something clicked within you that as you were living and working, you will still watch television, but there's a primal part of you that now has to see the TV from a distance, behind a couch. Sitting down is a place of weakness. You could be pounced upon. Something could happen. You have to be able to protect your cub. You have to be able to move at any point, but you still want to watch your shows. So you move by standing in the back. Something happens. Jack called. Phew, I'm here.
Yes.
I was not relaxing. Was I enjoying the moment? Was I watching the show? Yes. But like a spider monkey, you're all over the place.
I would say the nature of most professions requires some level of multitasking, but I would say what you and I do, Mike, is it requires a decent amount, especially at one time, to do several things at once, or kind of be able to hear a bunch of voices at once and do many things at very much at the same time within the same few seconds of each other. And nothing has better prepared me for that than dad mode, as you pointed out.
That makes sense. Funny aside, I was traveling somewhere for work a couple of weeks ago, and I wound up on the same flight as one of the camera guys I was doing a show with. And again, we go inside baseball here, but I'm a technical director. My normal everyday job is I have a huge ass board of buttons, multitasking this, listening to people, doing stuff. Like like you're saying, there's a lot going on, sensory input, etc. He came to me after, he goes, "What were you doing on the plane?" I go, "What do you mean?" I was just sitting on my iPad. He goes, "Right, but like, how?" I'm like, "I don't understand what you're saying." And he's like, "You were on your iPad and you were just a million miles a minute playing this game. But then I saw like you were watching a movie in the corner and then like you were doing it." And I was like, "I guess I didn't really think about it. I just had good stuff." He's like, "I would have had a seizure with the amount of shit you had going on." And like, whatever you were playing, you were smacking the screen, you were doing your move. And it was like, it looked like you were, and he was like, he was overwhelmed describing what I had simply been enjoying doing on the plane. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
That's great.
I was just a chill. It was my downtime. I was enjoying some time for me. Incidentally, what I was watching at that time was I finished New Girl. And I have separation anxiety. I miss my friends. I've been so accustomed to spending every day with them and binging it so much and loving every second. And now all I have is the memories. Just, my God, though, what a good show. And that last season, the 8 episodes of a 7th season that, by all accounts, from research and reading, we weren't supposed to get. It was like they weren't going to renew it. And I believe the people behind the show were like, let us do whatever you'll give us for the fans. So they got 8 episodes as a goodbye thank you. And I'm just like, my goodness, like, it's crazy how good it turned out to be that last season. What's so great too is that I was thinking about it and I was excited to bring it up because, like you said, I have talked so often on the show about how I don't really enjoy kids in media. I don't like it when the kids are a focus or they get added and stuff. And yet I fucking loved Ruth in that last season of New Girl. Her interactions with every member of the cast was fantastic. Her back and forth with Uncle Nick was just stellar. And you got the last, I had been tracking every like viral moment I had seen before the show as I saw it. And I finally got to the last one in the last season where Schmidt is in the daycare and he's looking for his daughter and that girl's there and he just goes, and she goes, a white man broke in today. And he goes, a white man? No! What did they do about it? And they go, nothing. Typical. That is one of the moments. There was like 5 or 6 moments that got me to watch the show because on like shorts or TikTok or wherever, I would just see these little snippets.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't know what this is, but this seems really fucking funny. And that was the last one I hadn't seen yet. And it was just waiting for it. And it was great. The moment was great. In the context of the show, it was great. I miss my friends. I miss New Girl and new stuff. Can I get that reunion? Honestly, God, the fact that the 4 dudes wound up in the People's Sexiest Man issue like last week at the time of recording has been a hilarious timing for me. Because one, it's weird that happened like 5 years after the show ended. And it's weird that John Krasinski was the sexiest man alive at this point too, because like, is someone really behind on sitcoms like me? Are they just catching up? They're like, guys, have you seen
What's this
Office?
Office show? Wow.
This dude is sexy as fuck. Let's make him the sexiest man alive. The show ended like 7 years ago. I don't care.
Like, what's he done
Don't care.
lately other than
Quiet Place, I guess. I don't know. Jack Ryan stuff?
Jack Ryan and then the Doctor Strange movie, right? So, but
Krasinski was in the Doctor Strange. Oh, he was
yeah, Mr. Fantastic. Yeah.
cameo. You're right.
Mhm.
He's already been recast though. He's Pedro Pascal now. But my point being though is that it was a great boon that after I was doing all this, as the show was ending, I got this like weird little bonus of all these funny videos of the 4 guys interacting and being friends and pals and cracking jokes and making fun of each other as like a coda that I didn't expect because of all these interviews for people. And I was like, if you haven't seen the interviews from just this past week where they all reunited, the guys all reunited, Jess isn't there. It's all just the guys. And they have all these videos of them just, you can tell they're still just friends and they love each other. And it's so fun. And I was just binging them. It's great.
Yeah, what is she doing these days? I haven't heard much from, I mean, actually, I take that back. Her albums and stuff like that. Actually, we're about to hit that season. We play the She and Him holiday album all the time around here.
I don't know what that is. Is that a Christmas album? That's
She and Him is like her band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
You said band in quotes. Is it like the Bacon Brothers, Kevin Bacon and his brothers band, or is it better than that?
I mean, she could legitimately sing. I mean, we know.
Okay.
Elf, but
It's not like that band of authors that like Stephen King and Dean
No.
together.
It's like a legitimate. Yeah, it's under, and it's not just for the holiday. I don't believe. I'm curious.
Before we move on, I got one more thing. But before we move on, better or worse, over under, who's better? Zooey Deschanel and her band, or Bruce Willis in the 80s in that Bruno album that he did?
Probably.
That's not terrible.
She and Him is really good. They're very talented. Like it's across as, like I said, anybody can kind of release a Christmas music or a holiday music album. While that is on there, they have like legitimate multiple albums and some indie cred and stuff like that.
One more comparison. You can keep the indie cred as part of it. I'm talking about what would you have to listen to it. You can pick one of their albums or one of their songs, or Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time. Not just the song, the whole album.
Oh.
But you also get Boogie in the Butt that way. That's a great Boogie in your butt, boogie in your butt, butt. but boogie
boy.
in bed.
Party All the Time is really good.
It is. There's so much cocaine going
So
on in that studio.
This is how I would say that. So I don't know. I think I would go She and Him for, discography overall, their overall, what's the word, compilation of music. But I would take Party All the Time as the single over top of any other things, any other single songs that they have.
Noted. Understood.
Check it out. I think you'd like it. Folks
Okay.
kind of music. So
Legitimately, try to remind me, because we haven't done an album review with you in a long time, but I
Mhm.
did always try to listen to what you told me. Shoot me a note later and we'll give it a shot.
Oh, actually,
So-
and they formed. I'm just looking at this now. Forgive me for jumping in, but
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to move it along. It's fine.
yeah. No, but they actually met on the set of Elf. That's where he first heard the other guy who is in him in She and Him first heard her sing.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. I have one thing that is nerdy shit that you're going to laugh at me for. So I want to give you your opportunity to say if you have anything else before I dive into my bullshit.
The only other thing that I got on sorry, my cat is jumping all over the place there.
The benefits of video. Let the people see the cat. It's okay. And podcast listeners, Apple, Spotify, wherever, you just missed out on seeing a cat.
Yes.
Say.
That's Mike and I have had this discussion. This is going to take another aside that we have 3 cats and a dog in my house, and Mike has 2 cats in his home. So there are if we do more video stuff, there's a high likelihood that we will see animals make guest
100%.
appearances. So, but the other thing, I got down a YouTube deep dive on old Craig Ferguson bits from his old Late Show, and just
Interesting.
it is really. I think it just started as I heard one of the songs he used to do as his cold opens, those lip sync things with members of his staff, and it was to all these different things. It's usually really goofy. Like the one somehow I stumbled upon. I must have seen something on Instagram or TikTok, a bit of it, and they're singing The Village People's in the Navy, but then everyone is all dressed up. Like one of the women's staff members is sitting on his desk in a mermaid outfit. He comes out in a pirate uniform. It's and they always use the puppets too to come in and quote unquote lip sync to the chorus or whatever. And it's just kind of this unbridled chaos of lip syncing, and not quite karaoke, obviously, because they're not really singing. But that led me to watch a few of those and just a couple other things. And boy, he was so out there. I don't know how some things push the boundaries, I think, a little bit, but
I was actually, the point I was going to say is I've seen a few, I don't know, maybe YouTube's pushing an algorithm on people lately, because I actually saw a few this week as well. I wasn't going to mention it, but I've watched a couple recently. I'll let you finish your point, but I was going to say I watched more guest stuff than sketch stuff.
okay.
And the stuff he did with women, he was so funny, and I remember enjoying it at the time. But with 2024 eyes, some of the stuff he did felt extremely cringe. And I was like, I don't like that now. Like 12 years ago, I think I laughed and didn't think about it. But as people learn, evolve, times change, and you have different mentalities. I watched these Craig Ferguson clips of him with some of the guests, like him with like Alison Brie, and I think Alice Eve was one. And I was just like, I feel gross watching you right now. And I know it's his brand or his whatever. I don't know. I don't think Craig Ferguson's doing anything sketch for real. But watching this shit, I was like, I feel kind of gross.
It was tough. I agree. Those were the ones I kind of skipped over but you'd see them and you'd be like, oh, what's this? And then after watching one or two, you go, oh, look, I'm gonna miss these ones. So
watch his sketch stuff, because you're right. Everything he did with Puppet Jeff and all the other stuff is absolutely fantastic. I love
Jeff
that.
is really funny, yeah.
Puppet Jeff is the best.
And the guy who voices it, I think, has his own YouTube channel. He posts a whole bunch of them. So that's how I got into a deeper dive going that way. So
oh, cool. But yeah, then you'll go to see him interviewing a woman, and it's generally about 40 seconds of him openly staring at her tits and making a joke about it. And it's this weird, you can do that still as a bit, but there's this leering quality about it that feels off-putting at this point.
It walks very close to the line, right? Like like you said, I don't think for real he's very sketch and should be thrown off. But it puts enough in your mind to think about. Yeah, and definitely not playing in 2024 for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to hit my nerdy bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had runners the last couple of weeks of the show where I bring up Star Trek kind of to troll you or because you don't care, et cetera, et cetera. There is actually a new piece of Star Trek media that came out this week that was genuinely really impressive and breathtaking. There has been sort of this divide in fandoms over the last 10 years or so about the state of new Star Trek versus old Star Trek and this or that and blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to get into any of that. But thank God for the heroes who made this, because apparently it was designed as an exclusive for Apple Vision Pro. Do you even know what that is?
No,
That's like Apple's VR headset. I'd never even heard of it. But the Roddenberry Archive was commissioned to make. The Roddenberry Archive is this like short film institute that helps preserve Gene Roddenberry's legacy, old Star Trek materials. But they've also been, I believe, Michael and Dennis Okuda helped to run it, and they were the production designers who did everything intricate through like 25 years of Star Trek film and TV. So they know everything. They help design things, and they've been helping to kind of safeguard a legacy of the older stuff. Long story short, they got William Shatner in to make a sequel to a short film they made a couple of years ago after Leonard Nimoy passed. That short had been a digital version with the blessing of his son that was Spock arriving at the grave of Kirk because famously they killed off Kirk in a Next Generation movie as like a shock moment. He was killed by like a rock falling and the fans went nuts. You're like, that's how you fucking killed Captain Kirk? It has been this point of contention for like 30 years that in a Star Trek The Next Generation movie, they brought Kirk in for like a 15-minute cameo and basically dropped a rock on him. And they're like, you're done. Have a good life. See you later, fucker. And it's really pissed off fans for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, the Roddenberry Archive has made it their mission to like fix Star Trek Generations. This is the third short film they've done in like 5 years that makes that movie more like palatable by making new shit to make it better. But they had done this really touching like 2-minute short film of Spock through the ages, and it shows him arriving at Kirk's grave post that movie, and it was all CGI, but it was such lifelike CGI, and it was breathtaking as a Star Trek fan. The sequel, though, is they actually got Shatner in. They had him act. He doesn't speak. It's all amazing face work. And if there's one thing that, jokes aside, or maybe because of the jokes, that man can face act. You know, there's a lot going on there. Like, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's too much, but the man has a look.
Okay.
But they do this thing where post-death, they show him traveling through the afterlife. And long story short, it's this thing of you see him meeting all the different versions of himself from the shows and movies and like reflecting on his life. And it's this very touching thing. And they've got other actors back from the franchise who have gotten older, and they have him seeing them in the afterlife. And it ends with a digital CGI version, but so lifelike, of how Spock looked in the last J.J. Abrams movie, because that's his last appearance, where they had killed him, but like off screen. They had been like, he got old, he passed away. They have him on his deathbed, and Kirk emerges through this nexus and is there with Spock as he passes. And if you've seen the amount of Star Trek fans crying online right now, like, it is sad tears, happy tears. We are just like, I sent it to my friend Max. Well, you know Max. I sent it to Max, and I was just like, I'm dead. And I'm teary-eyed. He's like, me too. Me too. It was just like, there was a TikTok I saw that was something about some franchises or fandoms screaming for 20 years for a new entry, literally anything. And then it was like a smash cut to Roddenberry Archive giving us a 90-second clip no one asked for to fill a plot hole in a 30-year-old movie. And I was like, yeah, that's the way. Get it. Yeah. And it's all nerdy fan shit. I know you don't care, but I had to rant about it because it genuinely got me so emotional. I've watched it like 5 times. It was so good.
There's something too, as someone who detests things that are left unfinished, to have something properly completed and send everybody home happy. There is something to that that's very uplifting. So I will say, and I know I'm not by no means. I'm very glad for you and your.
You're happy. I'm happy.
I am. That's legit. I could say that. So just because I
Yeah.
don't understand it, I will say you mentioning the way they killed off Kirk
It's so bad.
did make me think of. Did you ever see the Batman animated series?
Oh,
Episode.
almost got him with Killer Croc. I threw a rock at him.
That's all I could think about when you mentioned that.
It's basically it. That's the bit. It's so fucking dumb.
Tried to hit him with a rock. So good.
I would like to note though that that's true acting though, because that is
Mm-hmm.
Batman as Killer Croc.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, come on. Like, how clever is Batman? He's like, oh, I can trick him. I bet Croc really did throw a rock at him. And he's like, I know a time we can talk about it.
It just we can talk about like that cartoon at some point. I don't know. We'll have to get further into it, but just the brilliance of it trying to show the reactions of the other villains. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, good.
Oh, that's great.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me have my moment.
Of course.
If you're ready, man, I hope you're ready to get into some holly jolly festive nitty gritty shit, because we are going to look at A Christmas Carol. We're going to look at the past, the present, the future, Marley, all the good shit. I hope you are ready.
Even some Marley and Marley in one instance. So
I had to think about it. For a second, I thought you were going to say Marley and me, and I was like, that's a fucking dog, Randy, you idiot. And then I realized what you were doing.
yes.
Idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Christmas Carol tier list. Now, a lot of tier lists, you see things like S tier, E tier, A tier, F tier, B tier. That's fine. This isn't grade school. We're deep cuts here. So we're actually going to rank things a little bit differently. Our top tier, if it's that good, God bless us, everyone. If it's just pretty good, it's the founder of the feast.
Mm-hmm.
If it's all right, it's giddy as a drunken man. If it's kind of middle of the road, it's a bit of undigested beef. But then there's bah humbug, good afternoon, and finally, you don't want to be dead as a doornail. So,
For anyone watching on YouTube, this was all Mike's creation, and I'm here for it. This is well done, Mike.
we will not shit on the audio listeners, though. We will, from this point off, it should be interchangeable. What you're able to hear.
Sure. For what
You just-
for the
yes.
the categories you just heard, those were all things that Mike came up with. So I want to give credit where credit is due. So
Well, thank
I am helping
Appreciate
to organize and categorize, but it's Mike came up with the.
All right. First off, the very first thing we should talk about, give it a quick ranking. It's called Paying Respect, the original 1843 Charles Dickens novel. So here's my hot take, Randy.
No.
I don't think it goes any higher than Giddy as a Drunken Man, but I'd be happy to hear differently. Tell me why it should be top tier. Because here's the thing. I think adaptations have added things that we find. There are famous bits that we love, inflections, performances,
Mhm.
stuff that we have in our minds that aren't necessarily the book. Have you read the book? I read most
I
of
have.
it. I say that I haven't read it all. One of the things you're going to find, and I'll reference it here, is I found 3 or 4 scenes across every adaptation that if I hadn't seen the full thing, I went and found that part. So I made sure I've read Marley showing up. I've read The Ghost of Christmas Present, stuff like that.
Mm.
So I read the opening, and I do love the opening, but there's something about, I don't know, where would you put the novel? And you can say top tier. If you want it to be top tier, I get it. I just want to hear about it.
I don't know if I'd go top tier. But I think there has to be some credit given to the originator, right? The original idea, the thing that everything is derived from, everything is adapted from. So, I mean, while I don't know if I'm going to go God bless us everyone. I think Founder of the Feast seems to, I mean, just amusingly enough, as the founder, sort of makes sense as well. But I think it's difficult for us to have anything else after that. Now, is it a tough read? Sure. 1840s British literature. It's or wait, English? No, Dickens is British, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Famously.
Yeah.
Famously.
What is wrong with me?
I was waiting to see how you got there. So, and
I
to your
had a
point,
brief
too,
moment of, oh God, is he American?
this is, he is. He's from Boston. It's great. The fucking feast,
Mhm.
So he actually did not
Guy
think that
Molly.
this was, fucking Molly over here. Get my balls, Molly. Fucking I'm giddy as a drunken motherfucker.
Right.
Fucking guy. Charles Dickens actually didn't find this to be his personal favorite Christmas story that he ever wrote either. He would go on to do kind of like annual novellas for Christmas, and he found this to be one of his weaker ones. He was always a little, based on what I've read, I don't want to know if resentful is the right word, but approaching it, that this was the one that just constantly, he could never top himself, even when he thought he had topped himself.
Sure.
No one else ever cared about any of them the way that they cared about A Christmas Carol. So are we going founder of the feast?
I think so, if you're on board with that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good for it. So in that case, we have to move on next to all stage versions, because there's a wide range. There's the famous actors. There's fucking elementary school plays. There is such a fucking difference in quality across these.
Sure.
But we are going to rank every single stage version together right now. All stage versions. What do you think? What's your gut reaction?
Yeah, right, because these can be tiers no matter what. Like if we wanted to, which we won't, we could put 20 in one tier, right?
Yeah,
Like there's no we have to
Yeah.
fill in everything and things like that.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Are you saying this is another founder of the
I don't think so, but I do think I would go get as high as Giddy as a Drunken Man. I think there is something to seeing this. This is a story that is very well told as a play. And so I think stage versions lend themselves to it. Now, there are, I'm sure, plenty of bad stage versions of this,
I was
but
gonna
that's not necessarily indicative of the story. That is the actors that are putting it on, or if you want to stay at a bit of undigested beef, I suppose I will. I could be persuaded.
And I could be sorry. I think I want it here, but you make a point of, and I'm not going to do this for all of them. You run out of this excuse very soon. But there is something to be said for paying respect to the amount of good that is here versus the amount of bad and what it goes. Fine. Giddy is a drunken man. Okay?
So, but yeah, I mean, my only other counterpoint to my own argument would be that
Motherfucker, you can't have it both ways.
no, but anyone can put this on as a stage version, right? Like there is a wide variety of stage that is not great. And so maybe that does a disservice to it and that makes it go lower. Like to make this into a movie, you actually have to have funding and
Yeah.
be able to put it together as a film or a TV show or whatever. There has to be something put together where a lot of different things are at play. So I you know what, put it back down. Go to
Are you sure?
I am.
All right.
Yes.
Because I feel the same.
I've talked myself
Yeah,
into and out of it. So
I didn't want to start this being a negative asshole. I feel that way, but finally, the last kind of catch-all that we'll do, and then we'll get into more direct adaptations. We were going to look at every adaptation from 1901 to 1969. And I insist that this is definitely a bit of undigested beef because
Sure.
there is such... The only one that really matters here is the 1951 classic with Alistair Sim. Like, that's the movie that people think of, you know, of the golden age of cinema. That's the Christmas Carol Scrooge you're thinking of. When you think of Alistair Cookie from Sesame Street, you're thinking of Alistair Sim and Scrooge and the way he acts. That's his legacy. That gets it to at least this tier, like your C tier bit of undigested beef. The problem is, honestly, before that, and for the next, legitimately, I think 20 or so years after that, there is not a noteworthy, important one. Before that, there are technical marvels. Like, I sent you a couple of YouTube links. Did you ever
Sure.
watch them? They're worth looking at.
I watched the shorter one, yeah.
Yeah, the 1901, that's 3 minutes. That's the first ever adaptation. Fascinating, because they really do nail the story in 3 minutes in a silent short.
Visually hits every beat. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. There's a 1910 version that was the first American version that is like, I think, 15 minutes. It does similar. There was a 1908 that's lost to time, apparently. But, like, there are things that are important, but would I want to watch them tomorrow? I don't.
Mm.
So, I
fair.
think that lands in this kind of middle tier. Unless you have any other thoughts, I'll move on.
No, I think you got that right.
So next is 1970s Scrooge, which is like the very first big budget musical adaptation of this, and there's going to be a bunch of those moving forward.
Okay.
This reused sets and had the same film crew and director as Oliver, like Oliver, the musical from 1968.
Another Dickens
So-
adaptation, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So they literally reused sets. It was filmed
Oh.
back to back right after. There's one song though that makes me stick it, and I know we're really living in this middle tier sea level, and we'll get out of here soon. But
Okay.
a lot of these earlier ones, I think, live here. There's one song that it's supposed to be a big number at the end when he's happy. It's called "I Like Life," but it felt like it could have been written by 2024 AI when I listened to it. Like if you Google "I Like Life," it's an older British guy. It was like you typed in the prompt, "I am happy and learned a lesson and things are okay," and it's him getting out of it. He goes, "I like life, I like life." It was like kind of the tune to Hot Cross Buns, and I was like, what are we doing? I didn't watch the whole thing, so maybe it would have felt differently, but I was like, I don't think I'm in on this.
Yeah.
Since you haven't seen it and I'm giving it a shit review, we're going to stick this.
Okay
There's
with that,
so much undigested beef right now. There's just chunks of undigested beef. But don't you worry, because things are about to take a turn. And when I say I watched this one, don't you worry, I watched this next one. It's the 1975 porno, The Passions of Carol. So
I missed this one. Sorry.
I made sure to take the time to watch this yesterday.
Good Lord.
The
How?
internet's a magical place.
Okay.
And can I tell you,
Say no more.
it's not the worst version of A Christmas Carol I've ever seen. It really isn't. Carol is uptight. She's not happy with life. She's got a lot going on. She needs to learn to be looser, you
Mhm.
may say, to explore her passions. She's, and when I said I made sure to watch all the Jacob Marley scenes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she gives Jacob Marley a blowjob. 100% she gives Marley a blowjob and they fuck. Marley shows up in chains, says she's going to be visited by 3 ghosts, and they fuck. And I'm pretty sure, as I recall, they fucked in life. Now they are fucking when he is a ghost. And here's the thing. We're going to get to a couple of adaptations later on in like 2019 and a couple, I think, in the 80s. I don't know how else to say this. I think this had better costuming and production value than a couple that I watched later on.
Oh my.
It's still a porno, though, so I
Mhm.
think it lands in bah humbug. But they're surprisingly good costumes, and the actors are legitimately giving it all.
So
The Ghost of Christmas Present is this like flamboyant drag queen, and it kind of reminded me of who worked with John Waters back in the day. Divine.
Divine.
Kind of gave me
correct?
Divine vibes.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? It's a porn, because every time you get 5 minutes of like, I'm kind of enjoying this somebody's got to fuck. And I keep forgetting. Like, I was legitimately enjoying some of like the weird, cheesy acting. And then they would have sex. Like, oh, Christ, that's right. It's a porno. And it was just a bad movie.
So, yeah, I wouldn't. Having not seen it, I don't have 100%.
Would you like to stop to watch it right now?
I would
Your
not.
kid already went to bed.
I would not. The concept of this, if you describe what this was to me, just off of with just cold, blind, not knowing specifically anything,
Christmas Carol porn. Yeah.
this would definitely go like Desmond Dornell. Like it would go absolutely. So, but because of everyone seeming to be game and attempting to make this something resembling filmmaking.
It is staggering to me.
It gets to bump up a little bit, so the effort is worth it.
I need to look up if I think there's trivia on I think there's trivia on IMDb for this, which is great.
Oh my!
Here we go. There's one trivia note. for The Passions of Carol.
Uh-huh.
The Passions of Carol opened simultaneously at the Capri and Quad Cinemas in Manhattan on Monday, March 24th, 1975. The film played for 2 weeks at the Quad, which did not maintain a regular adult film policy, but continued on at the Capri for 9 weeks. Compared to other bookings at the Capri, it would appear that The Passions of Carol had a long and successful run. A 9-week stint for a porno. That's goddamn good box office right there. People just kept coming back. I think my favorite point about the pause we just had to take is that was definitely your wife that came downstairs while I was screaming in your ears about a 70s porno, right? Was that somebody else or was that regardless?
Oh, no, that's correct.
Timing was quality. I was good. We may have to finish this later, and I get that it's probably because you actually have things to do, and I'll pick this up tomorrow morning. But I'm hoping she's like, what the fuck is he doing down there? What are they talking about? Why is that guy he talks to screaming about 70s pornography?
The benefits of headphones, I suppose, but that's
Fair. Okay, so
what's next, Mike?
I would like to talk more about the porn. No, next, we're going to move on to 1978's The Stingiest Man in Town. In my mind, this was going to be the first one you knew. Is that true?
That
All right.
is factual.
This is, you can tell by the art style from the same people who did Frosty the Snowman.
Mm-hmm. The Rankin
So-
Bass folks, yep.
Yes. Talk to me a little bit about your childhood memories of this storied classic? What do you think about it? Where should it land? What's your gut reaction?
So I would put this with the exception of Rankin Bass did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? That was the I thought that was their calling card one.
I'm more worried that they did one of the shitty sequels because Rankin Bass, I always was worried about their animation quality. Sometimes it was not good. They did do Classic Rudolph. Yes, you are confirmed.
Okay, so and I think of that as their obvious top tier, and then we get into some of those. I think there were multiple, and then Frosty also, and I think the Frosty sequels and all sorts of other stuff. And whichever one was that Santa Claus Was Coming to Town was the one with the burger.
There were so many.
Yeah. And this.
Oh yeah, the Heatmeister, right?
Heatmeister.
Yeah.
The Burgermeister, I think.
Burgermeister and Heatmeister.
Yeah.
Good saying in that.
Very much so. And this is it's in the middle of all those. Like it is not. I hold actually Rudolph in a pretty high regard, but
I love it. Top tier. This isn't that list, but
No.
fucking top tier.
So I mean, I think it's fine to put it.
Look, this is the one with. I was confirming. This is the one with Walter Matthau as the voice, which I always
Correct.
appreciate.
Yeah.
He's good.
And a fun bit of trivia that his son did a voice in that as well. Just I think it's the boy that is like, what day is it? It's Christmas or whatever. That's his son, which is a fun bit of trivia. I
Oh, nice.
don't know
Yeah, I
what I
didn't know
learned
that.
about, but I
That's good shit. And also, I was looking for. I wasn't sure who Tom Bosley was in this, but he's.
oh yeah, Happy Days, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Tom Bosley is the insect Bah Humbug, which is
Yes, get it.
I don't get it. But anyway, where would you put The Stingiest Man in
I
Town?
think bit of undigested beef. I know we just said we're not going to put it in there.
No, it is what it is. It has to happen.
I think
So-
it's harmless cartoon that is not the best stuff that Rankin Bass had to offer, but it's fine to watch. I have favorable memories of watching it as whatever a 7-year-old on some random December night when they aired it back to back with 4 other cartoon half-hour things. The Grinch. and-
Absolutely. I'll miss that experience for kids moving forward. Just
Sure.
what night are the specials on?
Mhm.
Anyway, we move on to, I don't want to lead you on here, but I think we move on to what is our first kind of stone cold classic, personally, as we hit 1983's Mickey Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the first iteration I remember as a kid. This came out the year I was born. I was born in 83. This, to me, argue differently or explain why. To me, this is our first God Bless Us.
I think it's a no-brainer. There's so much good from this. It perfectly casts the Disney characters into what they need to show. Now, granted, I guess the ghost, I'm trying to remember. I remember, obviously, the Ghost of Christmas Future, who's the guy that ends up being almost kind of like Pete. He looks similar to.
It is Pete. I was going to say it's
Okay.
Pete from Goof Troop. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the bad guy. He was already a bad guy in most Goofy cartoons, which is why he
Mhm.
became Pete from Goof Troop.
And
But,
it's a nice reveal, obviously, with them just blowing the smoke the whole time with the cigar, and then finally, well, it's you, Ebenezer. But to have Scrooge McDuck as Ebenezer Scrooge is just, I mean, fantastic. I mean, and that was probably, I mean, that was one of the first. They probably did him a little bit earlier, I would guess, in previous animation, but one of the first few times we really saw Scrooge before DuckTales came into, and then just saw, Scrooge McDuck has been such an institution of Disney from then on, and he's perfect there. To have Mickey as Cratchit just as it like, I hate to, it sounds weird to be like it's great casting, but boy, they just put
It
the right
is, though.
the
It
right
is.
Disney characters in every part of that story. It's
When you're
great.
doing a version where, and we'll see this with a lot of other adaptations moving forward, when you're doing a version where you're using established characters as a derivative of it, you have to get it right or else it is shit. They nailed it is what it comes down to. And also it's just it's like you said, the atmosphere is, I think there's something to be said where I feel like if the exact same circumstances came out now where they went, we're going to make Mickey's Christmas Carol, they would be too afraid to commit to the drama and the fear that this has in the third act. There would be somebody undercutting it with a joke. There would be somebody being like, oh, I wouldn't want to be that guy. Gotta go.
Yeah.
But you live in Scrooge's fear in this, I feel like. And it's just so powerful and really good.
There's some stuff from the past. I think of that always, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow cartoon too, had that same kind of really, I mean, that's a spooky story, obviously, but had that whole thing with Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman and everything like that, where they weren't afraid to make people somewhat afraid. Yeah, they embraced the fear, like you said,
Yeah.
because it's part of the story.
Then we'll wait to maybe get more into this later, but there's another version of Scrooge that shows up later in the list. And the biggest thing I could say is that's fine, but the voice in this will always be Scrooge's voice to me.
Mm.
This is Scrooge McDuck.
Absolutely.
So
Oh, good call. I'd completely forgotten about that one. Yeah.
you asked me to add it.
The one you're teasing. That's right. Yeah.
Yours one of the time. It wasn't in the list originally.
You're right.
But next we have our first proper adaptation, the 1984 adaptation with George C. Scott. This is in this list.
Are you skipping one?
No. Why would I?
Oh,
What are you
okay.
talking about?
Was
We have another one in 1984, but we're
Oh, gotcha. Okay, then I'm just going out of order. So go on.
come along for the ride, baby. Let me drive. Get in the car and shut. Put your seatbelt on. I'll get us there. It's going to be okay. So now, God,
You didn't turn your turn signal on. So
No, here. Let's do it for you. Let's talk 1984 Family Ties, A Keaton Christmas Carol. We'll go back to the movie later. I was going to hit the nice adaptation first, but let's talk about when Skipper and Mallory were the ghosts that gave, was it Skipper? No, it was Jennifer and Mallory.
Jennifer, yep.
Were the ghosts
The ghost
that
sisters.
came to visit Michael J. Fox's Alex P. Keaton to, honest to God, I forget the lesson he had to learn. Wasn't he wanted to work through Christmas? I watched some of this recently, and I just remember the weird robotic performance of Jennifer, where she was like, her actress made a choice to be like very ethereal. It was like, I am not your sister. I am a ghost. I was like, oh, that's a I got so distracted by her acting choices, I missed the lesson he was trying to learn. So, do you remember what the lesson he was trying to learn was?
I think, wasn't it something that he was either going to give them cheap gifts or
Oh, he didn't get them gifts.
right?
That's what it was. Because he wound up learning the lesson and he went to the gas station and bought them presents. And that was actually considered a victory, that he got them anything. Reagan's America, 1980s capitalism. You got us something. You're the hero now, Alex P. Keaton. We love you.
Ridiculous.
Thank God you purchased something. Now, here's my question. This is our first half-hour sitcom one. There'll be a few more styles like this. I love Family Ties. This is only in its second season when this happens. Alex P. Keaton's still very kind of he was always a bit of a dick, but he's definitely more of a dick in the early seasons than he is in the later seasons.
Yeah.
Where does this fall for you of the breakdown?
I I'm compelled to go Bah Humbug. I don't know if you're like circling over there, but this is I adored Family Ties, but just this was not their finest effort in my opinion.
I agree. I actually feel like it feels like something that would have happened in a sitcom later in its run with a cheesy gimmick like this, than in the second season of a show that was, for all intents and purposes, pretty grounded, especially for the era. It seemed out of place to me.
I do think it could have had more fun with it too, like just having I guess with the premise they kind of had to follow with the sisters, but how much more fun would that have been, like, if Skippy or Mallory's boyfriend, if Nick was one of them, you had that a little bit later. I think that would have been more fun.
I also feel like this shows something that will be a problem with several of these adaptations, because they want to reference A Christmas Carol, but it's a half-hour sitcom or a 45-minute show. They literally do not have the time to get 3 ghosts in. So it becomes less than that, which is hilarious when you think about it, because that 1901 3-minute short nailed it. They got Marley and they got the different ghosts. They were ready to go.
Amazing.
Fucking Family Ties couldn't knock out the 3rd ghost before the commercial break. So, but yeah, no, I'm good with Bah Humbug for that reason. So can we now go back?
Yes, we can go back.
1984 adaptation with George C. Scott.
Yes, of course.
Have you seen this one?
I have. It has been a while, but I have seen it.
I thought it was good. You can definitely tell that they're taking it seriously, right? It's not stoic serious, although it's a stoic kind of thing. Movies have matured. It sounds so silly because it's post Spielberg, post blockbuster, post director, screenwriter. Like, people are taking cinema seriously again. Let's do a real version of this movie. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's we've never really done it since the 50s, where we're going to try to put money and time and effort into it like this. Let's go for it. And it's very good. And especially, I think at the time, people were like, this is the best it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
The reviews were off the charts. People loved every second of it. This might be my hang up. I have a little problem with George C. Scott as Scrooge, because he's the angry detective in Exorcist 3. He's the most gruff American man to me. That he's a good actor. He's giving it his all, and he does a great job. But I can't see him as Scrooge, and I have trouble getting into it because of that.
Okay.
His lines have that hint of accent, but it also sounds like an angry George C. Scott a lot of the time. But that's talk to me about it. Where are you feeling?
I think you nailed that, actually. We do like, as it goes a little deeper and a little further, we do like that from our Scrooge, right? To have that British connection or whatever it is.
What it reminds me of is in Robin Hood Men in Tights, when Carrie Owens is like, they're talking about these people, and he goes, unlike those other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
That's right.
It's like, that's it. That said, this is extremely well made, extremely well acted. I think this is Giddy as a Drunken Man.
I think you're right.
This is essentially what would be a B tier, SAB, on down. To me, this is a B tier, Giddy as a Drunken Man, but I'm happy to discuss it further.
This is with who would even be at this time? Not like Ian McKellen or something, Alec Guinness maybe, or something like that.
Alec Guinness could have been good.
With a stellar British actor of the mid-'80s, this goes up to Founder, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I'm looking for...
George C. Scott does a nice job, but I think you're...
By the way, this is apparently I didn't realize this because, again, I was a year old when it came out, and I've only ever seen it on TV, and it's been replayed a lot. You can watch this on Hulu right now. I watched this a couple nights ago on Hulu.
Yeah. Nice.
But it was a TV movie, which might make this make a little bit more sense. So, but interesting trivia fact, this was directed by Clive Donner, who was the editor of the 1951 movie.
Wow.
So isn't that fun? Little connection.
Ties together.
Yep. All right, and then we'll move on to what the fuck? What did you just do?
I teleported.
You did the little flash. Yeah, I saw the little flash. We've had it a couple of times, but nothing else. What happened to you?
I decided to get a little more distinguished for the rest of our conversation. So
That's fair. It must have been the George C. Scott of it all that really made you feel like you needed to class it up. That's fair. Okay. But next up, we have the 1986 Christmas episode of The Real Ghostbusters, Xmas Marks the Spot. Now, for me, Real Ghostbusters was like my first childhood obsession. It was the first thing that I was old enough to glom onto as, I love this. This is amazing. I'm going to make loving the Ghostbusters my entire fucking personality. And The Real Ghostbusters was a big part of this because I was 3 when this came out, but this show ran until I was like 8. And they reran these episodes, and it was on when Ghostbusters 2 came out, and you saw this shit all the time. So I'm sure by the time I was 5 is when I saw this, and I was becoming obsessed with it. You have a couple years on me. Was Ghostbusters, Real Ghostbusters, a big part of your childhood, or did this escape you or not be? Were you past this already, I guess?
I definitely watched this. Was this a daily cartoon, or was it only on the weekends?
So it was a daily cartoon. And then and by daily, it was on Monday through Saturday, which is rare. That's how big Ghostbusters was.
Gotcha.
Not a lot of cartoons got that Monday through Saturday play. But this also, aside from being their Christmas episode, I looked it up, got a special spot as like part of the holiday lineup on Saturdays, usually every Christmas. So I feel like it got more prominent play than a lot of other episodes. So you might actually remember this one a little
Gotcha.
clearly.
Yeah. I have a vague recollection of it. It's I'm trying to look it up here.
Oh, I watched it before we started recording. It's honestly very clever plot. And
they go back in time, right? And
on accident, they don't realize they're going back on time. Back on time. They don't realize they're going back in time, and they wind up answering a call. Like the call they answered is like through a time portal and this, whatever. It's all an excuse for them to be the Ghostbusters and go to Scrooge's place and bust the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. And what was so clever about it is that all of his like happy speeches and all of his excuse speeches for the ghost, everything that you're used to from all the classic adaptations is what he says after the Ghostbusters capture them. So it's like they throw them in the trap. They do the whole bit. And it's such a nice action sequence because I don't know if we talked about it. I was going to say I reiterate it, but I've said it a lot in, my personal life. The first season of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon is among the best, like, Saturday morning cartoon childhood media you could ever watch because they took it very, very seriously. It was still goofy in moments, but there's a writer named J. Michael Straczynski who writes a lot of comic books now. He created the show Babylon 5. He eventually got ousted because they made it more Slimer focused and kid friendly.
Right.
But the first 20, 25 episodes are this almost mature take with funny moments on, it's what you would want a Ghostbusters cartoon to be, that first season. A lot of the things people think of when they think of this cartoon, despite the fact that it went 8 years, are literally all from the first season.
Yeah.
So my point being is it's a very clever episode. Because they bust the ghost. It's a fun action sequence with like that 80s synth beat behind it that you love. And Scrooge goes, "Oh, you've done it. I'm happy as a schoolboy. Light as an angel." And I love that there's this lengthy pause where they would have said giddy as a drunken man, but it's a Saturday morning cartoon. So
right.
Like he says his line, gap, 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 light as an angel. I was like, oh, I know what you did there. That's why this show is clever. And then
they should have used some 1800 slang for being drunk or something in there.
Oh, that would have been good. And then he's like, then my favorite part about it too is that when they're like, yeah, we took care of them. He's like, oh, I knew it. I knew they weren't just a bit of undigested beef and a lot of mustard. I was like, oh, they're getting all the bits in. But yes. What's great about this too is it introduces a lot of cool lore for the Ghostbusters after they go back to the future. And they go. I love saying the Back to the Future and Ghostbusters in 6 sentences. It really does a lot for me. And Christmas has been ruined because Scrooge wasn't changed. It affected the future. Everybody hates Christmas. Fucking everybody. Janine's there, and they're like, "Janine, are you ready for Christmas?" And she turns. She's like, "What the hell are you talking about? I hate this."
Oh.
And when she agrees to help them, go back in time to fix it, basically, it's only because I want to fuck you, Egon. I love you. I hate Christmas. Exact words from Saturday morning cartoon.
Got it. Yeah, but Giddy as a drunken man was too, too risque.
Weird.
But
And then what's really cool about it is it's one of the ones where they go into the containment unit, and I don't know if it's the first one. They have to like suit up and create gear to go, and you see what's inside the unit where they deposit the ghosts, and they have to retrieve the ghosts to rescue Christmas. It's all very clever and very entertaining. And I'll tell you, I would put this as high as Giddy as a drunken man personally. But I'm happy to, it's a kid's cartoon, blah, 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 etc. I'm happy to talk lower, but this is better than, I honestly feel like it's not a faithful adaptation of like Stingiest Man in Town, but it's so fun and clever. I don't know. You tell me maybe there's a recency bias too, because I just watched it. So like you tell me if I'm saying it's too high.
So I think the cleverness of it definitely puts it in that tier for me, but also one of the kind of underlying themes of Christmas Carol is the fear and the spooky and the horror part of it, right? Like there is a lot of things that goes, I don't want to say under the radar, but there is definitely, and we'll get to that later in a couple other adaptations, but to me, embracing that, I always thought this cartoon, I mean, it sounds silly that I don't know how old I was when it came out, but I remember, watching a couple episodes and being, as a 7 or 8 year old, legitimately scared. Like, like there's some spooky stuff in these cartoons. And I think that
first season has scary moments. That's the thing. It is legit. It gets you. The Sandman episode as a kid, where like he'll force you to sleep, and he had that really big bulbous head, and he talks like this. It got me as a kid. It was like, oh shit.
So I think having that pedigree already, and then so it's within the canon and the lore of this cartoon, to be able to meld it with a great story, I think I'm fine with Giddy as a Drunken Man. I think it's
I love it.
Very faithful, clever adaptation. I like that.
And with that, we will now move on to 1988's Scrooged, which is honestly, it's kind of funny going from, even though he didn't voice it, the real Ghostbusters version to the Bill Murray version. And this is actually another one that I think perfectly blends comedy and fear. There is fear in there.
Sure.
There's a real moral lesson. And you tell me if I know we're not going to argue on this. At least I don't think we are, but this is God Bless Us Everyone, right?
I think it has to be, because it is the first really excellent modern adaptation of this story. Like, just figures out ways to push it into, that modern, the mid to late 80s, very, very much encapsulating finding someone who would be the modern day Scrooge. And I mean, to have the meta aspect of it that they're putting on A Christmas Carol on his TV network is great as well. But it just, that we've talked about before during our Bill Murray discussions. This is just, this is one of his best performances of his career, in my opinion. And it hits every note. Everything works great. The additional performances are awesome. I mean, just like some of the extra stuff. Bobcat Goldthwait is hilarious. All the ghosts are great. I mean, just really, really, really funny and entertaining. And it flows really well and finds a way to completely weave this story into a separate story. And it feels a little like madcap and a little off the walls. But I mean, that's the basis of the story.
Absolutely.
So to have that kind of mania and insanity going on, but still within the constructs of trying to put this live Christmas special on, is really, really cool. And no arguments from me. We may be overvaluing it a little bit, but it's what both of us are doing. So
you're probably right. Like, and you're right. A reasonable group of people might put it down to Founder of the Feast.
I don't think you put it below that, though. Like,
I agree. I wouldn't let anyone put it below that.
Yeah.
A couple of notes is, first off, the plugs for us. If you want to hear more about what we think about the movie, as far as like more of the performances, more of like the deeper constructs of the film, go back to our Bill Murray versus Chevy Chase battle part 1, where we look at all the films they did in the 80s. It's audio only at this point. You're going to have to accept that, but you can go find it. The other thing I would say is I didn't realize, honestly, until prepping for this, because I hadn't seen the George C. Scott version until the lead up of making this episode.
Mhm.
The thing they're making fun of the George C. Scott version in Scrooge.
Yeah.
It only came out 4 years beforehand.
America's
because-
favorite old fart.
I had no idea. Making fun, and the movie played for me my entire life anyway,
Yeah.
without knowing that it was a direct reference to something. Because again, like we discovered while making this, maybe I discovered, you may have known, this is the TV version, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. I was like, oh, fuck, this is the George C. Scott version they're directly making fun of. The costumes, the references, the acting, everything about it. The TV version is that version. And then Bill Murray's story is happening around it. And I was like, my God, how layered this actually is. Another layer. It is 2024, and I found another reason to love this that hadn't clicked for me yet. So good shit.
It's brilliant. Super fun.
So I have one that I doubt you've seen. If you've seen it, I'm actually quite impressed and proud and very happy about it.
Prepared to be sad and disappointed. So
no, I don't think when I just laid the base that it's more meets the expectations than sad and disappointed. People.
I was not a huge Quantum Leap fan. I have.
I hadn't said it yet, you son of a bitch.
Oh, sorry.
It's 1989.
You changed.
No, I just did. I said it after I said son of a bitch. So if you go back to the instant replay, I yelled at you and then I changed it.
Which is what you're going to do right now. We're going to have a replay wipe and.
Which also, as the one who controls the edit, I can make you look like a liar either way. I did genuinely change it after you said it, but now there's doubt. But 1989, Quantum Leap, a little miracle. I loved Quantum Leap. It was not to be overly sentimental, it was my mom's favorite show growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I have stayed with a fan into my adult life. If I've caught reruns or I've watched it on my own or whatever, I still greatly enjoy it. I think it's got a lot of merit, but it was my mom's favorite show, so I watched it a ton growing up. I know I watched this live with her as a kid, but it's also just a fun little Christmas episode that plays with the formula.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to one of those TV tropes that we talked about, like with Family Ties. They only have so much time. They're trying to do a lot of different stuff. Al's the only ghost, and he's also not technically a ghost, but they have a lot of fun with it. They figure out a plot reason for someone other than Sam to be able to see Al. They kind of exploit it to get him to change his ways, because this guy is basically a Scrooge type. But getting him to become a better person and accept the change of something is how Sam will be able to leap to his next.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
talk a little bit more
within the context of the show. I mean, I think that's pretty faithful.
I will say though that strictly as an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, as much as I fucking love Quantum Leap and I think this is a great episode, I will have to, I think, put this as a humbug. It's on the level of a Family Ties episode. Sure. It's on a level of the porno version.
How embarrassing for Quantum Leap and Family Ties.
What I tell you, though, the makeup of Al as the ghost is very comparable to some of the makeup in the porno version. So it's really on the same level.
I'm hoping that's the only similarities. There's nothing with Sam and Al I should know about, right?
They take their relationship to a whole new level, bro.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So the only thing is I can't remember if I'm misremembering. Quantum Leap, while not a religious show, played with a lot about the nature of God is very involved. Like he's leaping because of a deity or the universe or something. They don't always say God. They'll be like, you think because of like point to the sky, which is honestly one of the reasons I think the remake didn't work is it was all strictly science-based. A science accident happened. Yeah. The nature of the universe or people needing to be more moral and right wrongs, it was a real big aspect of the first show. And the second show had its moments that could be really fun, but they weren't focused enough on the moral aspect, I feel like. They didn't like to talk. They never addressed why new Quantum Leap guy, Ben, had to make these changes. Like, they were looking, it was like, Ziggy says you have to do this to leap. And they never addressed why. And it always bugged me because that was a big part of the first show. Like,
so they orientated a lot more.
Yeah. Like the entire
forces at work. Is that the idea?
Yes. So Bruce McGill in the finale, who plays a bartender, Sam straight up asked, like, "Are you God?" And he's like, "No, I'm just a bartender, but we can talk." And there was this very afterworld, otherworldly aspect that the new show didn't fucking talk about at all, and it was weird to me. But the point being is, I'm conflating this. There's an episode with people questioned if there was a genuine angel that I think was also a Christmas episode, and I can't remember if this is the same one. No, that's one. That's why, cause they did an "It's a Wonderful Life" parody also, and that episode that episode was called "It's a Wonderful Leap." So
I see. Of course it was.
it was really getting in my head. I was like, is that the same one? Am I misremembering this? But no.
Nice.
And we didn't talk about it in Halloween. We'll save it for next year. There's a fucking stellar Halloween episode called The Boogeyman, where the genuine actual devil shows up to fuck with things. And it's awesome.
I do think with this format, it lends itself very well to multiple
yes,
multiple holiday tiering.
But with that, we'll move on. I think, unfortunately, as much as I love it, it does become a bah humbug. And that actually really, I hate to do this because we're going to move on to one of my all-time favorite shows, but not one of my all-time favorite episodes, not one of my all-time favorite moments. We are going to talk about Data portraying Scrooge on the holodeck in 1991's Devil's Due in Star Trek Next Generation. All this is the cold open. You can watch this on YouTube right now and take 2 minutes. But it's part of Data's quest to become more human. Picard is on the holodeck kind of directing him, because one of the things that I always loved about Next Generation is it's kind of also the Love Boat and a cruise ship. They're dealing with all of these intense things, but when they get downtime, they go to the holodeck, or they have plays, they have concerts. Like Riker has his little jazz concerts, and people play when Picard wanted to bone that one lady in the later seasons, which is a great episode, which I think is called Picard Wants to Bone a Woman, is the name of the episode.
I'm sure.
Yeah. She's playing the flute in like the concert in the bar, and that's how they kind of connect. And I'm like, I love that in between fighting Klingons, they're on a cruise ship. It's great.
Yep.
But the opening is Data is Scrooge and doing this performance. But the problem is, as much as Picard says, Data, that was really good, you've come so far as an actor, Data's terrible. He's over hammy. He's doing poor man's Alistair Sim from the
he's an android. How could he
Yeah, but he's striving to become more human, and I don't think he's there yet. This is season 2 or 3, so that could be he's not that far along yet. There's no emotion ship yet, and also from a behind the scenes real world standpoint, this episode came during the lead up for the early 90s writer's strike. This was a repurposed script that they busted out in a hurry from the failed 70s reboot they were going to do of the original Star Trek. They legit dusted off some old Kirk and Spock scripts and did a Control-F, Control-R change to be like, it's Picard Data now. It's fine.
Oh my.
Don't worry about it. It's not the best episode. I love Star Trek enough where I want to put it in Good Afternoon, but for Christmas Carol content, for the episode of Star Trek on its own not being that great, this kills me. I think it's got to be a Dead as a Doornail.
Wow.
And I don't think you're going to fight me because you're like, yeah, fuck Star Trek. Is there Christmas cheer that says I need to put it higher, Randy?
No.
What do we do? No, there's not even a discussion, you fucker. I want you to sit here for 10 to 15 seconds while I glare at you. Although if I really want to glare at you, I have to do this so that people can't see me. I'm looking right into your cold eyes.
Oh, wait, I go this way, right?
No, actually, you're looking at my bed now. So it's the other way for you. There you go. Now you're looking at the screen and I'm looking, this is so confusing. Anyway, no. Don't escape this. Take a time. Really think about if I'm making the right decision.
I think so. Because here's how I am putting it. If something that you revere so much, a show that you adore, and it is poor enough to have you consider that it's down there, I bet you it's down there.
You're probably right. And listen, because you can't have nice things, I just have to accept that Star Trek is dead as a doornail. Just like I'm sure you'll admit immediately without any further discussion, so is our next adaptation of Muppets Christmas Carol. moving on to
You're a
1993's
monster. You're a
Muppet
monster.
Christmas. Oh, do we need to have a further discussion about a Muppet Christmas Carol? I guess
Do you not like it?
no, I love it. It's my favorite
Okay.
movie of all time.
It's like-
I just don't like how you hurt me with Star Trek.
oh, I
To
see.
fuck with you. No, it's my favorite adaptation of all time. I think I've watched
Yep.
this as a Christmas movie, as a piece of Christmas media more than anything I've ever seen. When I went to rewatch Elements of a Christmas Carol for the lead up to this, I think it was the only one that had like, do you want to resume where you left off? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Does it go any lower than God Bless Us Everyone? I think it's instantly top tier, unless you have other thoughts.
No, not at all. I say it's a wonderful adaptation of it because it captures, with the Muppets involved, with the puppetry involved, it captures a little bit of that stage play on the screen, and then just the Muppets kind of with, sometimes the fourth wall, sometimes, I mean, I know Gonzo is technically narrating it, but, just some of those things that do all the weird, irreverent stuff that the Muppets are known for, and weaving into this story. Michael Caine is a great kind of stayed force in the whole thing. It's great. So no notes, awesome.
Yeah, so the thing too is Michael Caine is, and he said this in interviews, that the reason this movie works, and other people said this, the reason this movie works is he plays it as if it is the most straight-laced,
Yeah.
serious version of A Christmas Carol anyone has ever done. And because of that, honest to God, he's my definitive Scrooge. Everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
there are some really good performances here, but everyone else pale in comparison to Michael Caine for me as Scrooge when I'm watching serious adaptations. And then, yeah, the rest of the Muppets are great. They're fun. One note I didn't know until, like I said, we talked about it. I started reading parts of the book, opened up sections of the book. I always thought the delivery of Gonzo at the end, where he's like, and Tiny Tim, who did not die, is great. And I thought, that's funny, haha. That's how it's written in the book. I
Oh,
didn't know
really?
that. Yeah. They literally, like, Dickens as the writer narrator is talking to the audience directly, and he genuinely just writes, and Tiny Tim, who did not die, would go on. I was like, oh shit, that's a direct lifted line. Gonzo, except for when he's joking with Rizzo or comforting kids, is genuinely just saying actual lifted lines from the book. And I was just like, oh, that line always fucked with me, but it is as faithful can be.
That's great. I just thought it was a weirdo Gonzo thing, but that's
Me too. I was really surprised, and pleasantly so.
that's great. Yeah, no, I have no argument with this. I think it is deserving of that, and as much fun as I think if I want to nitpick amongst nitpick, this is one of the first things right after Jim Henson died.
It is the first thing after
yeah.
Jim Henson
And
died.
so I think it's like the first song that Kermit sings. You start to I don't know why that sticks in my head. I don't want to speak ill will of this movie, but I do remember that being slightly off because of someone else.
No argument.
Kermit at that point, but it doesn't affect the movie. That's one memory that I have for some reason of that being the case. And it just was of the timing of what happened.
I know this is going to sound like sacrilege, and I can't remember this man's voice. He was the one that was fired a couple of years ago, so they're on their third Kermit voice now.
Okay.
Jim Henson was obviously Jim Henson, and the performance is better than anyone else. And 70s, 80s Kermit was salty and could get a lot angrier than modern Kermit. Modern Kermit's got a lot of Mickey Mouse about him, which I don't like. 70s, 80s Kermit got pissed about things, and it was great. So the performance is better, but when it comes to the voice, honest to God, 90s to like 2018 Kermit is my Kermit voice. It's the one that sounds right to me because it's the one I had most of my life. I would go back to watch The Muppet Show later or as a kid, and I knew the deal and I appreciate it. And it's a better Kermit, but the voice, it sounds terrible to say. It's not my Kermit voice. I don't know how to say it. It's sacrilege, I know. But no, this is a perfect film.
So, what's weird is just bringing this up now is the only time I really remember that from the case from when we first saw it, when I went and saw this in the theater. And then you noticed that it was that first song that Kermit sang. That's when I really noticed it. And then you're absolutely right. Everything else that I've watched since then, I haven't thought about that one bit. It's really bizarre how it's just from that one, probably just because it was the first instance and it happened to be. I think it's akin to the Aladdin sequel, right? When
Mhm.
Dan Castellaneta said,
But
and we talked about that before.
That's a way worse version of the voice, though. Like that
Very.
doesn't even sound like he's trying to do Robin Williams.
Very
I don't
true.
think. Also, before we move on, legitimately, like a moment of silence. Let's bow our heads for Muppet Vision 4D. It's gotten the official cancellation. It's becoming Monsters Inc. World.
Oh.
And that kills me because I'm one of the diehards. It's like, please don't, please don't, please don't. Keep it Muppet World. Keep it Muppet Area. Please keep the whole City Street thing. Keep Rizzo's Pizza. Keep it all. And like, they're like, it is cool as fuck. Did you hear what they're adding the Muppets to? They're replacing Aerosmith on the Rock and Roller Coaster with the
Oh,
Muppets.
nice. Very
So
cool.
I'm all in on that. I still want Muppet Vision, though. There is the thought of it was the last thing Jim Henson did before he passed. So they're talking about a way to preserve the film for the fans. And there's the counterpoint of like, but how do you preserve the experience? Sweetham's not going to run out on stage at my home, because that was always a part of it. But it's good that if they try to keep it so that fans could still enjoy it somehow. But it really does break my heart because they've been talking about it for a couple of years. The rumors that it would be on the chopping block for a renovation.
Sure.
It's a bummer, but Muppet Christmas Carol at least will always have that.
There you go.
Moving on to 1993's Animaniacs: A Christmas Claus. It's the Animaniacs.
You're in my wheelhouse, dude.
Yeah. So I don't remember this one super well, so I'd like you to take over, lead the charge on talking about this one.
You didn't watch this one?
I watched a little bit. This is one of the ones I didn't watch the whole thing. I'll be honest. I watched enough to get the gist and remember that I love it. And also, it's the Animaniacs. Like, I loved not Wacko. I loved Yakko as Ghost of Christmas Future. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of the plot beats on this one. So
I'm pulling it up as well just to remind myself because the beginning of this, because it was a couple different. This wasn't a full episode. This wasn't one of those Animaniacs where it encompassed all, 3 segments.
I thought it was.
No, this one was only 12 minutes.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just looked up clips on YouTube, assuming it was like that. But how about?
No, I think this was like they split it. I think there was a 2, or it was one of those where it was 2 fairly long ones and then like a 90-second bit to get all the commercial breaks.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the way I honestly, and we can talk about the episode as itself. What I remember about this, and it would start with, and they used to have in the 80s those old things where it would be like, here comes a NBC or an ABC special or a very special presentation with the moving text, and that was in like Technicolor, and so they come on and do that, and it's the 3 Warners talking about, we're around this time of year, we want to just embrace all the holiday spirit and bring about this very special presentation. And then Todd goes, and what's so special about it? And Wacko goes, I'm not wearing any pants. And then you go right in. It's like I always remember that part. It was brilliant. Wacko.
So
the Warners themselves are undefeated, but yeah, it was just great.
You let me drive the ship on a couple of these. Steer the ship, drive the car, steer the ship. I guess you can drive a ship. Where would you put the Animaniacs special then? What's your gut reaction? So you know better than I. I'll trust your instincts unless I feel it's wildly wrong.
I mean, I'm thinking Giddy is a drunken man. So it's
that good to you. It's as a 12-minute cartoon. It's that good. If you say yes, I'll trust you.
I do. Here's the problem: is I have if you want to shut me down, this is me. Animaniacs is you Star Trek. So like that is.
Well, I put mine dead as a doornail, you motherfucker.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. I mean, it does follow it's the CEO of Warner Brothers, Thaddeus Plus, is being led through to show, and Ralph is playing Bob Cratchit. So like they have actual people that are sort of being tied into it. Ralph has a family, and it's plot. Essentially, Plus is trying to get rid of him, but they go through, and what makes it fun is the ghosts. They have, Slappy is the ghost of Christmas Past, working for Scale, as she points out.
Was there a Marley? I forget. Who was Marley? Was there a Marley, or did they just go right to past, present, future?
Sometimes people do. Or no, I'm sorry. That's what it was. Slappy is Marley.
Gotcha.
Wacko is Christmas Past. Yeah, and so
Okay.
Slappy comes in and who are you? And she loses one of her pages and she points out that she's working for Scale. So it does that typical kind of thing.
All right.
It eventually it gets through and it's all three of the Warners as the Christmas Ghost. So I think it weaves it in and it's fun. So if the more I think about it, maybe a bit of undigested beef is right, because it's not that different than the Rankin Bass in that regard, where it's fun and it has characters woven in, but I don't know if it's as good as the other two that are in that tier right now.
And I would say, I think the difference of that would be, just to hammer home, why would we throw the Ghostbusters cartoon in here and not this one? The Ghostbusters cartoon still had like sort of a faithful representation of the ghosts. And like as an adaptation, they were still nailing a lot of the actual points of the book and moments. Love the derivative with Animaniacs, but I am going to do this unless you're like, no, I've changed my mind. Don't do this.
I think too, I think the side-by-side comparison helps a lot with Real Ghostbusters too, where that is a fully formed half-hour episode that is completely around that, whereas this was, kind of it was a longer episode than normal for Animaniacs, but not a full half hour. I think if they did the full length of the episode to that, it would have been a different story. But I think that as much as I love it and it's fun, and I think that's where it belongs.
Our next episode of Television is 1997's Boy Meets World, A Very Topanga Christmas. I added a couple on you. I think that weren't on the list I sent you. I realized that afterwards. I was like, I don't think he has this one. This is one of the ones, there's only one ghost. I believe it's a dream sequence. It's Feeny. Sure. Topanga is trying to force her Christmas traditions on him, and he kind of wants to force his Christmas traditions on her, and he's being a bit more of a dick about it. So they're probably going to break up if things are happening. And Feeny, Dream Christmas Ghost Feeny, is basically like, hey, quit being a dick to your new girlfriend who you love and embrace some of this. And he has the Christmas spirit, et cetera, and does that. Like, she's trying to make him Christmas tree pancakes. And he's like, fuck off, Topanga. Again, how they said it on ABC, Boy Meets World. And so he does learn a lesson. He does change his ways. You do get some of that Victorian garb with Feeny. You do get Feeny at the end saying "Bah humbug."
Okay.
So it's a little more faithful than like Quantum Leap, but I don't know if it's even a bit of undigested beef. It might be like we might like move down some of these to Bah humbug and put it like on the cusp of Bah humbug to a bit of undigested beef, where it doesn't quite make it, but it's there. Have you seen this one? Do you remember this episode?
I have not. I think we've gotten into. I know we're doing a lot of callbacks to previous ones. Boy Meets World was one that kind of I missed the boat on a little bit. I was just a little bit older when it premiered, and so didn't watch it as much.
And this is also, I think, that era of Boy Meets World where I love later Boy Meets World, even where they're in late high school and college and they're thinking about the real world. This is kind of in that middle period from when it was still about Corey as a kid versus Corey becoming more of a man. And that's an awkward period of the show for me. So I will leave it at Bah Humbug, but the cusp of Bah Humbug, because they do nail a couple of things. But then we go to an adaptation that I like quite a bit, and not just because of the Star Trek of it all. I genuinely think this is quite a good adaptation. And until I had thought about Michael Caine, I think this is my favorite traditional adaptation.
Sure.
Which is 1999's TNT version of A Christmas Carol with Patrick Stewart as Scrooge. This is a very good version, and he is very good in it. He is a hard ass. He's upset. He's actually got an accent. He's English. He doesn't George C. Scott it, which I guess George C. Scott technically did, but there's a reason Scrooge made fun of it. I think this is a very solid adaptation. Have you seen this one? Did you look at any of it?
I have. I think it's one of the best of in terms of just straight kind of book adaptation. What we talked about with George C. Scott, I think say we needed to find a good British actor for it. How many better British actors than this guy? So I see you moving it towards Founder of the Feast. I'm I'm moving towards there. Unless you think Giddy as a Drunken Man is where it belongs.
I was going to ask you, is it the front of Gideon as a Drunken Man or Founder of the Feast? And I do think Founder of the Feast. And
I think so too.
And the truth of the matter is there's obviously our bias involved in this entire list. If you were to look at strictly as the best traditional adaptation, maybe it should make God Bless Us Everyone, because it's the only, I think, deathly serious version we're going to have. And it is the best deathly serious version of this on our list, I think. But this is our ranking. This is our tier list.
Yep.
I think it's not a God Bless Us Everyone level adaptation for us.
Right.
But it is the best serious version, so it definitely makes Founder of the Feast.
No arguments here?
The best thing I could say about it as a whole is go watch it strictly, I think, for Patrick Stewart's performance.
Yes.
There's something that happened with Patrick Stewart post X-Men where he just got so old. Where I love the third season of Picard, but they have to write, and really that whole show, even the really bad first 2 seasons, they have to write the show around the fact that he's so old and can't do it.
Yeah.
Even his really powerful acting moments, he doesn't have a gravitas in his voice anymore.
Mm.
He can act, but he can't get throaty and bassy. He is so still in that zone in 1999.
Sure.
It's the year before he does X-Men. It's 5 years after the show of Star Trek ended, the year after the second movie they did as Next Generation. But he's in really his still prime as an actor, and he's just, no, God. He has that, if you love Star Trek, there's a line in First Contact where it's one of his really famous acting lines, and it was like, no, the line must be drawn here! Like, he screams, and he brings that energy to Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. So, if you want line must be drawn here energy, watch this version of A Christmas Carol.
Which you need, because we talk about like the mania of this story of how manic it can become. This is not something that not modern day, but 15 years ago Patrick Stewart could handle, just because it would be more of his measure. He's great and still in that measured tone, that even keel. That's why he was great as Charles Xavier, just because he could continue to have that and never kind of let his anger get the best of him or whatever it was. And so, but him in 1999, I think you put it perfectly, has that extra gravitas to try and deal, and head kind of spinning around like, what is happening around me? Am I going insane? This kind of thing it's really well done.
Absolutely. And I also think, because it's in this one, I believe it's in all the true, like, genuine serious adaptations. I can't remember if they parody this in Scrooge or not, but it had the scene where Ghost of Christmas Present opens up his gown to show the kids that are like ignorance and hatred. I forget the second one. I'm a bad person there. And it's like the moral lesson of that. It's not in any of the fun versions. None of the fun versions open up the dress to be like, I got kids under here.
Yeah.
Which is, but it's a very stoic version. I think I forgot the point I was trying to make, because I just thought, aside from the fact that I think that was just a very good scene. The other thing I wanted to say was, time is a construct. It is a difficult thing. Randy, this was not 15 years ago. This was 25 years ago. We're old. You said it was 15 years ago, Patrick Stewart. It is 25.
No. I was saying 15 years ago, he was still okay in that regard.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Well, I would say I got to do the math. The math is math. And 22 years ago, we get to one of the absolute least faithful of all time versions, but one of my absolute favorite for how fun it is versions. Aqua Teen Hunger Force 2002, The Cybernetic Ghost of Christmas Past from the Future. Randy, I know you want to do the voice of the quotes. Just go for it.
It's all I was going to do was thousands of years ago. That's all I needed to do. But it's just
thousands of years ago, with the great clucking was a good, and it just say anything you want. Say any random bullshit you want.
I had completely forgotten about it. And Mike texted me this list a little bit ahead of time, and that was my immediate response to. He sent me all this list of all these different adaptations, and my next text to Mike was in all caps, thousands of years ago. That's how much it's just. That's how quickly it hits your head, and that's why, as a adaptation and as an execution, I mean, this is really hard going above there. Like this may have to be, because this probably deserves to be Dead as a Doornail, but I think as fun as it is, it gets it up to Bah Humbug. That's how I would phrase it.
I think you're right. And the funny thing is, this is my problem here. It's definitely Dead as a Doornail as an adaptation, fun enough to be a Bah Humbug. And I love it so much, I want to put it at the end.
I'm game, because I do too. It's just, that,
I know
there's
that's
something to be said.
controversial.
yeah.
I would
It's our
put it at
list.
the absolute dead end of this category, right?
Yeah, I'll buy
It
that.
cannot go higher than any of these other adaptations. And technically, again, it should be here, and I know that. But it is so fun and so funny. And hey, he's still trying to show him his past and I think technically teach him a lesson, even though they get nowhere near it because of how insane everything gets. And also, this character is so fun and so beloved from the first season of Aqua Teen, which
Yeah.
I think would go for like 18 years. They brought him back all the time.
Yeah.
It would be just when they brought him back to the point where they did crossovers with the Moonanites, and the Moonanites and the Cybernetic Ghost of Christmas Past. Hello there. Hello there. And it's just like, oh God, it's my Avengers. It's the Avengers of dumb comedy Adult Swim villains. It's so good.
It is an excellent, like, if you ever want to get a good encapsulation of what Aqua Teen Hunger Force is, somehow watch this episode. It'll give you a good.
Complete.
And if you like it, you'll like all of Aqua Teen.
Yeah.
If you are very confused and are like, what the hell is this? Don't watch too many more, because you probably won't. It won't be for you.
To that point, I was going to say it's not just a great example of Aqua Teen. It is the perfect example of what early Adult Swim was as comedy.
Yeah.
What Adult Swim was when it was finding its voice and what got its initial audience, what made millennials love Adult Swim, shit like this. And if you watch it and go, this is what's wrong with your generation, maybe I don't fault you, but I think it's what's right with our generation.
It's not for you. It is absolutely for a specific type of humor, and if you like it, you love it. I'll put it that way.
What I would say, all of that, it's not for me. If you like it, you'll love it. But I don't think if you don't like it, you're going to hate it, is our next one. The 2004 NBC musical version of A Christmas Carol. Do they call it Scrooge? I think I may have
I think they just
written
called it a
Scrooge.
Christmas
but I
Carol, I
think
thought.
they called it A Christmas Carol. I wrote Scrooge because it was a musical.
Mm.
Like, I just double checked and I was like, oh, I fucked that up.
Yep.
I'm not changing it. But this is starring Kelsey Grammer, Jesse L. Martin, what the fuck is Jenna Maroney's real name?
Jane.
Jane
Shroud.
Krakowski.
There you go. Yep.
I watched this on YouTube for free, where you can watch it for free, thank God.
Yeah.
And I have two notes. And this is the first adaptation I watched for all of this research. I don't know why I started here. So the very first note I have, I have a hard time taking this movie seriously when the Muppets did a better musical and a more emotional, grounded version. And then what is ostensibly a serious period piece version with songs, right?
Yeah.
It's the 1970s serious period piece version with songs, but so much worse as a musical. Kelsey Grammer I love Frasier, and I love Kelsey Grammer in a lot of things. What an amazing beast. Such a fun Sideshow Bob. What a
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
great performance. He's not good in this.
Yeah.
Have you seen this before I keep going?
I have. I think I watched it live. I think.
Oh, boy.
I think so. Yeah.
Jesse L. Martin is the only person bringing real energy and real enjoyable performance to this, but he has that Broadway background more than a lot of people in this movie. He's given it his all, but can't save it. And the only other note I have, which I think is the most important note about why it's going to put where I think it should put, is Jane Krakowski singing in a Cockney accent in the beginning is giving me real Jenna made a choice no one asked her to make live on stage vibes. Like,
wow.
This is Jenna doing A Christmas Carol.
This is her own Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah, no one told her to do the Cockney accent, and they cut the stage where she's like, "I don't I'm gonna do nothing," and they just cut to Liz going, "Oh, Jenna, stop it!" It's all I thought of, and it's the first song of the movie because she doesn't have it the rest of the film. When she's the ghost of Christmas Past, she shows up and is that ethereal ghost of Christmas Past. But they did the stage musical type thing where they put all the ghosts as humans in the first number as like prelude. And she has a Cockney accent. And I just thought, no, it is not. No. The thing is, it's a faithful adaptation. They put a lot of effort into it, and I wanted to love it because it's Alan Menken doing the music, who did Little Shop of Horrors, classic Disney era musicals. He did music for Little Mermaid, and I think Aladdin.
Aladdin, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, I looked up, this was apparently a yearly performance they would do at Madison Square Garden for like 15 years. And the year after it ended in 2003, they did this TV version in 2004. But man, I'm putting it in good afternoon, unless you tell me it's a bah humbug.
No, there are a lot of people, and I think you're right, Jesse L. Martin being the one outlier.
I don't remember any songs from it. I watched this. I don't remember a single song from this.
But everyone else is like really pleased that they're in it and almost wants you to know how,
I gotta do this. I gotta bring up, I'm going to have to cover you with it because I don't know how else to get it up quickly with the way that we're doing this.
All right.
But so everyone, look at Randy's window in the video version. And if you're listening in the audio version, I'm going to ask you to just Google this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am covering Randy now with the face of Danny DeVito as the Penguin in Batman Returns. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to bring Randy back. Hi, Randy. Nice to see you. This is Jason Alexander in A Christmas Carol. It's giving Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. Had I thought ahead, I could have had this ready to go for you. I didn't. Look at Randy's window for
Scrooge,
things.
You will be visited by 3 spirits.
I'm going to bite the nose off a kid. Oh, this is a choice. There's a choice for that fucking movie.
Yeah. No, your nose could be gushing blood. Yeah.
But anyway, it's not great. I read a couple of reviews, though, that said Jason Alexander was like terribly miscast. I think he's one of the best parts of it, just behind Jesse L. Martin. Makeup job aside, he really gives it all. He has that Broadway pedigree, too. But I'm livid with Dead as a Doornail, and I think we can move on. The next one, I think, is going to be debate because I know I don't like this movie, and we have talked about this movie to death on this podcast already. And it is 2009 CGI version, the Robert Zemeckis version of A Christmas Carol, starring Jim Carrey. It's that motion capture one.
Yep.
Listen, we have spent multiple episodes of this show breaking down why we don't like what Robert Zemeckis' career has become, why we don't like his motion capture era, why we tend not to like most of these movies. This is one of the ones where I went back because I haven't seen it in so long because I didn't like it on first watch, where I rewatched scenes. I rewatched the Marley scene. I rewatched the ghost scenes. I went back to check to at least revisit enough to be like, am I giving this movie a bad slog in my mind? And I don't personally think I am. I don't know where I'm ranking it yet, but I know I don't like it. But it's super faithful.
That's the tricky part, right?
But
I don't like it either. It's faithful to it.
I think the performances aren't great, and not just motion capture. Jim Carrey is a bad Scrooge.
Yeah,
he is miscast. He is doing he's doing something
weird. Yeah,
and I don't think it's a good performance. And also, this has that like Chip and Dale movie. Do you remember the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie where they went to all the neighborhoods and there's that whole neighborhood that is nothing but uncanny valley 2000s animations that don't quite move right and don't quite look right.
Yeah.
I could not take my eyes off how bad the Ghost of Christmas Present looked. He is just the worst mouth movement animations, flat, unemotive, despite being motion capture, because the technology wasn't there. This is not... How is Gollum in 2003 so much better than this in 2009? Because it is stilted and bad, but it's super faithful.
Yeah.
It is a technical achievement. And so many things we say about Robert Zemeckis, it's a technical achievement. Randy, talk to me about where this should land and why, because I don't know.
So I don't think, because when things are technical achievements, if you have money, I feel like that should still, like, that is not impressing me.
You didn't have a technical achievement because you grim and gritted it to really make something happen. You threw as much money as you could to make something, is what you're saying.
I feel like that's what it feels like to me.
So I don't know, man. It's where you
So-
want to put it. Tell me where we're putting this.
I'm going to be bold. It's going to Bah Humbug.
Okay. Here's my question. Is it the top of Bah Humbug or is it the middle, the bottom? Where would you put it? Do we have to say it's better than the porn version? Or do we not?
You know what? No.
By the way,
as good.
I layered this wrong. I
Okay.
think the Boy Meets World version falls behind the porn version also.
Okay.
I think the porn version is
Yep.
currently the top of the Bah Humbug
Absolutely.
tier.
I'm on board with this.
How about that? We're going to do some more, by the way. I know you haven't done tier list formats. At the end, we're organizing these tiers as well.
Okay.
We've done a bit of that as we go. I think Bah Humbug right now is in pretty good shape.
Got it.
And then we're going to move on to another one I don't think I put on your list
Okay.
because I found late that it was a adaptation and I didn't realize it. I hadn't seen this movie and I don't know if you've seen this movie. So we might have one on here that neither one of us have seen. And we're
Okay.
going to talk about, and maybe I shouldn't have done. We can also just take it off the list and not judge it.
Okay.
But also in 2009, Ghosts of Girls
Oh, I've seen this
Past.
movie.
Have you? Thank God. Okay. Matthew McConaughey and lady from Alias who was dressed in dental.
Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this movie because I was doing research.
This movie sucks. It is all the crap McConaughey was doing in the aughts. Just
The only trivia I have about this movie where I remember it existed is there's a meme of in the 2000s, Matthew McConaughey couldn't stand up straight. And it's every movie poster. It's him being leaned on and pushed back like in this one. And I'm like, oh man, you're right. How about
all that fucking he's doing. I saw it when it came out. That's how, I mean, that's how long ago that's actually been 15 years. So
where you going to put it?
I think Good Afternoon. This was an excuse to make another one of these Matthew McConaughey movies and loosely format it too. It seems like people are having fun in it and everyone's proud of themselves for making let's put all of these beautiful people in a movie and have another rom-com, but not my cup of tea.
And I just want to take a stab that the only thing keeping it out of Dead as a Doornail is that it does follow the structure of A Christmas Story and is doing it even loosely the actual plot, right?
Yeah, and I think it did pretty well. You know, I think you can find people that will be in favor of this movie.
Okay, all right.
Maybe not defend it, but will be, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I did not like it at all. So that's why.
Okay.
There.
So next up, I know this won't be in your wheelhouse, but
Yep.
It's 2010's Christmas special for Doctor Who, A Christmas Carol. It's called A Christmas Carol.
Right.
And it's
Which Doctor is this?
This is the Matt Smith Doctor, the 11th
Okay.
Doctor, and this was his first Christmas special coming off the heels of his first season as the Doctor. Full disclosure, Matt Smith is my favorite Doctor. Amy and Rory are my favorite companions. He is not my first Doctor. He's my third. And people always say, oh, your first is usually your favorite. No, I fucking love Matt Smith. He's got this alien, charming quality to me where he is not human and you know it. He is awkward. He is probably because he's probably got that like neurodivergent social awkwardness where I really see myself in him. So I really love me some 11th Doctor. So, but this is a shockingly kind of faithful adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
Really?
They
Okay.
go to a planet that is basically Victorian England, despite the fact that they can time travel and often go to Victorian England. They go to a planet that is basically Victorian England, where I believe is it Michael Gambon? Michael Gambon, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Plays Elliot Sardak / Kazran. He is Scrooge. He does a very good Scrooge type performance. The ghosts in this one are the Doctor, Amy and Rory, time traveling him to the different eras to try to get him to change his ways because there's a cruise liner that is caught up and going to crash onto his planet. And he controls the weather through a weather machine that he owns through his corporation as a mean, evil businessman. And because it would cost him money, he refuses to just turn the machine off for 15 minutes and save the ship. He's like, no, let him die. It's their fucking fault for being out there. and the doctor's like, literally just turn the machine off. He's like, no, I don't want to. So they're like, okay. And the doctor decides to use time travel to turn him into a different person. Use ripples of time to make him a better man.
Nice.
So he goes through, and the problem is that the way they do the ghost thing is the doctor goes and changes the past. And then he goes back to see if the changes worked. And he's there as the ripples happen. So you get Michael Gambon's Scrooge character experiencing the changes. He's like, those aren't my memories. That's not how that worked. And he starts processing why these things were affecting him. He's like, no, I felt unloved. It's like, you didn't have to feel unloved. And it gets very emotional because Doctor Who can be extremely powerful and extremely dramatic. That's one of the benefits of the show. It can be goofy, fun sci-fi and then take you to just emotional places that tear you apart. And it becomes this very dramatic tale of trying to change the nature of this man into a better person. And yeah, obviously by the end, he saves the ship and he becomes a better person. They hit all the beats of A Christmas Carol. It's an original take. I adore it enough, and I think it's so well done that I would put it as founder of the feast. I would also understand if you will only let it go as high as Giddy as a Drunken Man. Temper my expectations. How have I explained it to you? How are we feeling? What do you think?
I think it's a pretty original interpretation of it, while being faithful to the text and finding ways to weave in the same morality and having the same kind of characters take place within wildly different environments. So I think I'd be okay with Founder of the Feast. That's
fantastic. I was going to try to bring up some reviews of the time and see if that helps sway you if need be. No. But it sounds like, Rob, they're all extremely positive reviews.
I'll be honest. So Doctor Who is one of those shows where it is not where I sit there and roll my eyes like you when you talk about Star Trek. It is something I am moderately interested in, but it is pretty overwhelming to be like, there's 488 seasons or whatever it is.
But the thing is that's where so many people get it wrong, right? I didn't watch the 70s, 60s, 80s, early 90s. I really don't. There are aspects of it I enjoy from a performance standpoint, but I can't watch it because of the production budgets and the things on this. I appreciate the history of it. And yes, it's all canon. But if you wanted to start from the beginning, like truly the beginning of the modern era, start from Christopher Eccleston in 2005. It's a proper pilot because the show had been off the air for 15 years. It is a starting point. And Christopher Eccleston is fucking brilliant. And things that start at that era they have 2 or 3 reboot points because new doctors come in, new showrunners come in. You could pick a different starting point and be fine. If you really, truly wanted to start from the beginning, that would come to what you're watching now, it would be 2005 Christopher Eccleston. And you would watch so much good stuff. And that's available to you. Everything from Eccleston through Jodie Whittaker is on HBO Max right now.
Okay.
Or sorry, Max. And then the modern stuff from the last year's Christmas specials to the Disney current Plus, Doctor with, I always fuck up his name and I feel insensitive. Nakagawa, I can't say it. I'm an asshole. I can't remember how to say his name. But he's so good. He's
the
so
Disney
great.
Plus, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff's all on Disney Plus. And listen, there are ups and downs. It's tough to talk about. Some people get very defensive about their doctors, but there's some very bad episodes over the course of, it'll have been 20 years now. And don't get me wrong, there's not 20 seasons. They take long gaps. They'll do a year or two where they only do 2 episodes because it's British TV, and that's how they do it.
Right.
I can say that it's been 20 years of Doctor Who since Eccleston came back, but there's only been, I think, 14 seasons. And each of those seasons is at most 13 episodes and not always that many. And some years they're like, we did 2. So like, it seems insurmountable to say go 20 years back, but you can do it. You can start and you're going to love it if you start at Eccleston. That's my pitch and plug to you.
Okay.
And you're going to get some really good stuff. Don't get me wrong, bud. Any show that's been on 20 years, you're going to get some shit too. I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect. That's called TV. But you're going to get more good than bad and a lot of really interesting TV. So I'm putting it at Founder of the Feast. I will put it at the end of Founder of the Feast.
Okay.
Because that's fair between the fucking Dickens novel,
Yeah.
the very faithful adaptation. But I'm putting it at Founder of the Feast.
Okay.
Thank you for your time in my diatribe. You opened it up to say you were willing, and I was like, this is the moment.
It's
If you want to talk more about other starting points, if that's too daunting for you to start there, I have that too. We'll do that another time.
gotcha.
So, but we'll move on to the one you asked me to add to the list late, and that is 2017's DuckTales. I believe this episode's called Lost. I wrote it here. Last Christmas. Every time I move this window, it covers you up. Last Christmas is the name of it. I watched this one. I was not enamored with it. Why do you want me to add this to the list? I don't know.
I just thought it was another. We were just going with all adaptations. I didn't necessarily add this based on it being beloved. I just thought it was another one that I thought was within the entertainment lexicon. Say, okay, cool, let's bring it
You're
up.
100% right. The problem too is with a top tier Scrooge in God Blesses Everyone of Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
This only makes this feel weaker. And I love talking Doctor Who, 10th Doctor, David Tennant. Love me some David Tennant. He's so much of what he does. He does a great Scrooge in the sense that he's talking in his own normal voice and not doing voice acting because he's Scottish. He's just a good actor.
Yeah.
But he still pales in comparison to classic Scrooge to me. It's tough for me to process. Where would you put this? As I think you also have probably watched more of this modern DuckTales than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you rank it? What's your gut reaction here, man?
I think it's undigested beef. I just don't know where.
We can get back to that. We'll pass it in. We'll do it at the end. And you're right, because it's fun. It's good. I think I'm just comparing it too unfavorably to other things, and it's really taking me out of it. But yeah, it's a Christmas Carol with Scrooge, so maybe we should be ranking it a little higher simply based on you don't always get that.
Sure.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about the episode?
Not really, just because it follows a lot of similar DuckTales thoughts where it's still sort of a caper, right? Like it's still sort of something that an adventure that they're working their way through. It's posed in the framework of A Christmas Carol.
Fair. All right, next we have what is our last. It is a deeply serious, and I want to say faithful adaptation, but did you watch the 2019 version from the BBC of A Christmas Carol? Because they certainly take some liberties and make some choices.
It's weird to call it faithful. I mean,
yes, it is of the era. They hit all the book points, right?
Right.
They hit the book points. They lift the book points, but it's I know it's in 2019, so this is maybe a bad correlation, but it's like they wanted to do, in the late 2000s, post Dark Knight, where everything was dark and gritty for a while. Everything was angry. You weren't allowed to be happy. It's why the Justice League movies were handed to Zack Snyder, because they thought we want dark and angry for everything right now.
Yeah.
And that's what this feels like. It is a joyless version. Even the ending, the happy, in quotes, ending is so fucking joyless. Why is this so unhappy? But on the flip side, it is so well acted, beautiful, incredible production value, well put together, but it's so miserable. What happened here?
There is nothing that feels redemptive. I think that's one of the best things about all of the best. I know, and one of the best parts about all of Christmas Carol that we enjoy, I think, is that part.
That's the whole point,
right? So, but what this is trying to do, I appreciate it for what it's trying to do, and like you said, beautifully shot and well acted. It's trying to dive further into how did Scrooge get to the point where he is, right? It is that part is sort of glossed over in the actual text, right? It is more points in his life that he could have went one way and he went another way, as opposed to this adaptation really dives more into these things happen to Scrooge, and
Yeah.
so it's a different interpretation of it, a different take, but yeah, there's not much enjoyable about this
What really
at all. I mean,
really,
it's when I say that, I don't mean it to be that it's not well made stuff. I mean, the tone is very gritty.
I wanted to hit
grimy.
two plot points that
Yep.
that sum it up. Is when they're looking at the past, you don't usually see Bob Cratchit and his family in Christmas past. They're always a Christmas present.
Yep.
They hit the family in Christmas past because now one of the despicable things that Scrooge has done is forced Bob Cratchit's wife to, like, I can't remember. Do they fuck or does he just make her get naked for him?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, he
takes advantage of her.
Yeah, she asks for a loan, and he says, "Come over and undress," and then he says he doesn't want her. Yeah,
Right. They want the surgery for Tiny Tim, and he's like, "For the money, take your clothes off and do this." And I'm like, what is happening? And that does make him irredeemable because he goes from being a miserly old man whose life has escaped him to being a sex offending criminal. I didn't realize Scrooge was Harvey Weinstein. Yes, you're right. He's irredeemable in this. And then at the end, when they do the big, he wakes up and he goes to save Tiny Tim's life because in this version, Tim is going to fall through the ice and he saves that and that's great.
Yep.
And they're basically like, that's not enough. You did terrible things. And they do the speech where he's talking about why he's trying to be a better man. But the entire time, they have Mrs. Cratchit yelling over him, going, "Get out of my house. You're not welcome here. Get out of my house." And he's still giving like the speech from the book.
right.
But the entire time, it's, "I don't want you here. Get out of my house." And I'm like, what is this? What
Yeah.
is happening here? And I'll be honest, I don't even think, as I talk about it, it's such a faithful look and performance adaptation, but they take their liberties. And the more I talk about it, the more I don't like it. Like,
Yeah.
I did not think as unfavorably about it starting this conversation until I really talked my way through it during it. I think it's a bah humbug or maybe a good afternoon. But it should probably be at the bit of undigested beef end. But I really didn't like this the more I talk about it. And it really annoys me. And it misses what you said. It misses the point of the story.
Yeah.
They tried to do a take and it misses the entire point of A Christmas Carol. Is this bah humbug or is
I think
this
so.
after?
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
bah
it's
humbug?
the end of Bah Humbug. Yeah.
Okay. Like you said, you hit the nail on the head, which is why it really awakened me as to how much I don't like it. It misses the entire fucking point of the story.
Yep.
Man, you got me there.
Cooking.
Next up, I think I had this on the list, and I can't remember if I took it off and put it back on and took it off, put it back on. I don't know if you have this next one, and I'm very excited for what might be a surprise.
Okay.
Second Chance at Christmas, also from 2019. Did I put this on your list or had I
No.
taken this off? Because this was on my initial list. And it's like, oh, we're not going to talk about this. No, I'll put it on. It's a direct-to-DVD Christmas movie that eventually aired on the Family Channel, or whatever the Family Channel I think became. It is very odd, and I need to bring up the cast list because that's why I
Wow.
wanted to really talk about. Yeah,
Holy.
yes, it is a bad movie.
God,
It is a
This cast is like
yeah.
shit.
That's the thing. No, I got to put it back on. It's a really bad movie.
Yeah.
It's poorly acted. It is a direct-to-DVD Hallmark quality film, in which a modern day. I'm going to read you the IMDb storyline real quick for all the people who probably haven't heard of this adaptation. And if you have, good on you. Spoiled pop star Chance Love is forced to confront who she is, who she once was, and the dismal fate that awaits her after trading love for fame and fortune long ago. These faithful glimpses into her life are guided by modern twists on the spirits of Christmas past, present, and future. Brian, Chance Love's faithful assistant, may just be his boss's saving grace. Sorry, I know your cat's been in the frame the whole time, but it just popped up so clearly, and my heart melted. Look at that! Look at that!
Say hi, Hermione. Yeah.
Oh, God, my heart. My heart. Oh, don't know. It's because we talked about her. She's like, I can't take the focus anymore. I'm leaving because you addressed my presence. My heart. So, I'm going to read off the cast, which is just what, my goodness. You have Brittany Underwood, who, is that a famous country singer, or is that
Carrie Underwood?
Has Brittany Underwood done anything we remember? Because all the ghosts are the famous people you're thinking of. She has done a lot of Hallmark-looking movies. She has done The 12 Dares of Christmas, A Royal Christmas Holiday, A Royal Christmas Ballet. That, boy, I hope that's a sequel. So, man, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
She really fell into that Hallmark Christmas style film. Maybe we should.
I would guess The Killer in My Backyard and A Bride's Nightmare are also from there, or maybe those are.
Or at least those quality. Else. Yeah. So anyway, they stick Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray under so much bad makeup to be Jack Love. I don't remember the family relation, but that's the Jacob Marley person.
Gotcha.
Jim O'Heir, who is Jerry from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Christmas Past. And I love his performance because he just walks around smoking a cigar as like an old style Christmas crooner. Because again, music is involved with this. Vivica A. Fox's death. Corey, who I don't remember who the fuck he plays in this because it's not Brian the assistant, but grown up Jonathan Lipnicki, the little kid from fucking Jerry Maguire, is in this movie.
Wow.
Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
What got me to look at this? Rob Van Dam plays her put-upon limo driver. And can I tell you, I watched this entire fucking movie waiting and expecting for the scene in the present where you see put upon Rob Van Dam's family and why him having to work Christmas Eve for her has made his life hell.
Yeah.
You never see him again.
Uh-oh.
You get a scene where she is yelling at him as her limo driver in the beginning to show what a bad person he is. And I'm like, narratively, you're going to see Rob Van Dam again later to show what she has done to him to make his Christmas present so bad. You'd never see him again. I watched this entire movie for that. I was so angry after that. Based on the cast and my description, where would you put it? I have my own thoughts, so I want to know your reaction simply based on how I described it to you. And
good afternoon would be my initial thought.
I absolutely agree. I wanted to see if you would put it as high as a bah humbug. Was really debating that as a doornail. And if you look at the other things in Good Afternoon, the production value, the budgets, the acting is much, much... They're giving it a lot more than I think than this one. However, I like Kelsey Grammer's really bad in A Christmas Carol. I think they do better acting than Kelsey Grammer in A Christmas Carol than Jane Krakowski's Cockney accent. But it's a Hallmark movie. Can I justify putting it higher? This is the struggle I'm in.
I don't think so. I think it's fine where it was.
Okay. Do you put it above Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past because it's maybe more faithful? They're actually doing
no, because the level of acting is actually not that bad in Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past. It's just terrible. It's just a movie I didn't like. So,
okay. Finally, our final one, and this one was such a pleasant surprise to me. 2022 Spirited. I loved this movie. I just watched it yesterday for this. Okay, so Red 1 is coming out with The Rock and Chris Evans. And I think I grouped that into shitty Netflix movie with Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock.
Right.
And for whatever reason, this is an Apple TV exclusive movie. For whatever reason, I completely avoid, and also I don't like a lot of modern Will Ferrell. I think our second episode was a Will Ferrell deep dive. Our second episode, Randy, was a Will Ferrell deep dive. And we talked about how much his career at a certain point wasn't good. And I think at this time I said, I'd never seen this and I don't give a fuck about this movie. Look at all these things. He did some exclusive whatever. And you probably at the time were like, no, it's pretty good. I was like, whatever. I wrote this movie off for a myriad of reasons and never saw it
Yeah.
until yesterday. What a fucking delight.
Lots of fun. Yeah. More fun than you think.
This is so fun and with memorable songs. This is a musical version. I would listen to the soundtrack at the holiday season. Hermione's back. I would listen to this soundtrack tomorrow. Good Afternoon is fucking fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is so fun. And the twist of him being Scrooge, I kind of saw it coming, but also Will Ferrell's character, the Ghost of Christmas Ghost of Christmas Present, being Scrooge is like, oh, that's great. And they have this twist on time and history. And I kind of saw it coming as soon as Marley was like the overarching like guy in charge of this operation they're running to redeem people. And I kind of was like, one of these guys is going to be Scrooge, or we're going to see Scrooge. And that was Will Ferrell. But
yeah,
the Ghost of Christmas Past, fucking the target of the day, Ryan Reynolds, just couldn't take it. He's too charming.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it's a musical, because I'd written this movie off, I didn't know it was a musical when it started.
Oh. Okay.
And I like musicals quite a bit. And this just, I was like, if you could have seen the look on my face when this movie started and it turned into a musical, and I'm like, mouth agape. I'm like, fun performances, original take, harkens back to the original. This is very least top tier Founder of the Feast. Maybe God Blesses Everyone. However, I have recency bias. I just watched this and loved it.
Yeah.
You have more time to think. You have more time to process. Where does this actually land? What did you think of it? Talk.
I'm going to go Founder of the Feast. I do think there's some recency bias with God Blesses Everyone, your thought process there. So I think Founder of the Feast is accurate, though. Really, really fun, solid performances. And like you said, I don't know if it was billed as a musical when it came out. So to have that feel is a lot of fun there. So
there's been a real glut. And I think we've even talked about it the last couple of years. There were some musicals that bombed. So everything that was a musical got advertised like it wasn't. The first like 2 previews for Wicked, which just came out, had 0 singing.
Yeah.
And it's fucking wicked. And I'm like, they are terrified to advertise musicals after a couple of bombs.
Sure.
But I think with Wicked's success, at least I assume success, social media has been loving it. We'll see how the box office is. We're recording this the weekend it comes out. I assume it's going to do very well. It could bomb, and then all the theater nerds who are on my social media were like, which is what I'm seeing, are going to talk about how amazing it is. We'll see how it plans out.
Okay.
But I would put this Founder of the Feast above Doctor Who, but beneath the novel and the traditional Patrick Stewart version.
I think that's right. Yep.
So that's every version we have ranked.
Yep.
We have kind of organized some of the tiers. Let's look at a couple. God Blesses Everyone top tier. We have a Mickey's Christmas Carol, Scrooged, and the Muppet Christmas Carol currently. How would you reorganize that in your mind? Because I have my thoughts, but I'd love to hear what you're going to say, because I can talk all day long. I need to let you talk.
I'd still keep Mickey as number 1 for me.
Okay.
And then would move Muppet Christmas Carol ahead of Scrooge, and then that's how I would tier it.
It's so funny. I would go Muppet, Scrooge, Mickey.
No.
But you know what? You're in a hurry because you have to go because it is approaching Thanksgiving this week. Your family's in town. Your mom's in town, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
No time for small talk. You gotta go be a good son. I will simply say I disagree. And
all right.
First. And maybe after you sign off, I'll do this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for now, I'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Founder of the Feast. I think we have this one organized right. The novel has to be top tier simply out of respect.
Yep.
Then the Patrick Stewart version, then Spirited, then Doctor Who.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. Yeah, we kind of did that as we went. So
Giddy as a Drunken Man is the 1984 faithful adaptation, then Ghostbusters. That's amazing it made it that high. I stand by it.
I'll put Ghostbusters ahead of 84.
Would you?
I would.
I can't. I'm not going to give you that.
All right.
I actually agree with you personally.
Out of respect.
I can't do it. It's a
Okay.
faithful adaptation that was very well regarded and very seriously acted. I can't do it.
Okay.
This one's going to have some work. This is what takes up the bulk of your remaining time.
Yeah.
A bit of undigested beef. We have all the stage versions. Oh, hang on. I forgot to change the title. I made a title for this. Final rankings.
Oh, there you go.
Feel the excitement. All the stage versions. All of the versions before 1970. The 1970 musical. 1978's Stingiest Man in Town. Animaniacs. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And DuckTales. So I actually think our bottom three are good. Animaniacs, Aqua Teen, despite not being actual adaptation, I think is better than the DuckTales episode. I get more enjoyment out of it.
Sure.
Those are the bottom three of undigested beef. So we have to look at stage, the original movies, Scrooge, and Stingiest. I think musical Scrooge, because it's the only one we kind of haven't seen, but did very well as a faithful, well done, big budget 70s musical, top tier ahead of the cartoons that we talked about.
Sure. Yep.
Stingiest Man in Town, the original movies, and the stage plays. Organize them for me.
I'd put Stingiest probably behind Aqua Teen.
Would you? You'd move it that far down.
I don't think it's a very good cartoon.
But not as good as Animaniacs?
That might be my personal bias. So if you want to put that ahead of Animaniacs, I won't argue.
I was actually going to put Stingiest Man in Town ahead of the 70s Scrooge movie. I wasn't moving it. Yeah.
Okay.
You're moving this way far down the list. So based on that, can I put it ahead of Animaniacs?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
And then, because it's at least faithful and it has a lot of, and then we'll leave, so it's the Scrooge musical, Stingiest, Animaniacs, Aqua Teen, DuckTales, which
and then I think this is right.
Played movies. Really?
I think that's the way we have it because much like the text, we are offering a different way of bringing this to the audiences and giving credence, giving it its respect to put this as a play.
Okay. That makes sense. And we already organized the bottom three. So before you go, and I
did we? Oh, okay.
And yeah, we did. We did it as we were going.
Great.
If I read
Look
it
at us.
disagree, we'll
How
talk
efficient
about
we
it.
are.
I'll read all these out before you go. You can sign off for the plugs. Maybe you give me the goodbye and I'll edit it in later. I don't. But let me read through our official rankings as we've led them.
All right.
The best ever is A Mickey's Christmas Carol, Muppet Christmas Carol, Scrooged, the novel, the 1999 TNT adaptation with Patrick Stewart, Spirited, the Doctor Who episode, the 84 adaptation, the real Ghostbusters episode, stage versions, the older movies, the Scrooge musical from 70s, Stingiest Man in Town, the Animaniacs, Aqua Teen. Aqua Teen made it so high up this list. It's so high up this list.
So good.
Care. DuckTales. The porno version. Just ahead of the 2009 Records.
Oh, the technical achievement.
The porno version is officially ahead of the 2009
I love
Records version, Boy Meets World, Family Ties, Quantum Leap, that dour fucking 2019 BBC version. And I stand by that. I'd rather watch the porno one right now. Give me that Marley blowjob. They didn't have the guts in the 2019 version to have the sex they alluded to that the porno version went for. But then after that, we go down to the Good Afternoon tier, which starts with the 2004 NBC Kelsey Grammer musical Christmas Carol, Ghost of Girlfriends Past, A Second Chance at Christmas, and then Dead as a Doornail, absolute last. That scene where Data acts with Picard on the holodeck doing A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Randy, how do you feel?
I feel like we grouped this pretty accurately, with a few exceptions that are just our own fun, but that's all right.
I absolutely agree. So, could you stay for the plugs? Do you have?
I can stay for the plugs.
Okay, so if you like the show, if you're listening to it on your podcast provider of choice, please leave us a positive review. Leave us those 5 stars. If you're now watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, leave a comment. Anything helps get us out there to the people. We love doing this show. We're so happy to expand it. It's a good time. if you want to find me on the socials, you can find me at Mike Barcode. That's MikeBarcode on TikTok and Instagram. You can send me an email at mikebarcode@gmail.com if you want to have a deeper discussion about something that you don't want to just leave a comment on, if you have real thoughts on something. And Randy doesn't have any of that crap. He just comes on and comments and makes fun of me for caring so much. He doesn't care about me or anyone. He's a real Scrooge.
That's right.
That. Yeah, as you lovingly pet your cat and go to spend time with your family and your mother. It's like, what a monster. He doesn't care about me. He's trying to
Humbugs.
Yeah. But with that, we will call it a day. This has been a delight. We will see you all next week. And with Randy, get us out of here.
Goodbye, everybody.
Wait, are these guys friends? A song about two friends who host a podcast together and argue regularly about their pop culture interests and if they're actually friends or not. One friend is named Mike, one is named Randy. Wait, are these guys friends?